The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242
or visit tomsbeets.com. It's Friday, the last day of the Free Speech TV fund drive or membership drive or whatever you want to call it. And two notes. Number one, thank you to all the people who have signed up and made small gifts. We've gotten a lot of them, and it has really helped. We're still about $22,000, $24,000 down for this week's goal, and next week's goal is $50,000, and we really need to hit that, and then we'll have this thing wrapped up. Although next week's goal has now become $70,000, unless we can make up some of that $20,000 today. And so to that, you know, please, small donations, keep coming, and please participate. Our 98% doesn't participate is probably down to 96% now. I mean, it's pretty spectacular. All the people who have responded and said, yes, I want to be part of the Free Speech TV family, and I honor you and thank you for doing that. Those small gifts across a broad spectrum of people really do make the difference. That's, you know, the old 80-20 rule. That's the 80% of our donations. But we also, well, it's not the 80-20 rule, but whatever. We also need our big donors to step up, which we have not so much seen in this last week. Perhaps because I've been focusing on small donors. But, you know, if you can contribute $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 to Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We really need that help as well. Particularly if we can make up this $20,000 today. Two $10,000 donors would, or $4,000 or $5,000 donors would make it, or 10, you know, or 20, excuse me, $1,000 donors would do it. So there's a lot of work yet to do, and we're going to have to do this for another week, is virtual certainty. Quick thank you to four $1,000 donors who I'm looking forward to having lunch with. Robert W. from Port Orchard, Washington, Lynn and Ed from Kesta, New Mexico, D.H. from Los Altos, California, and Miriam R. from Albuquerque. And thank you so much for signing up, for donating $1,000 and for signing up for lunch with me. I'm looking forward to it. So here are the premiums, the gifts, as it were, at the different giving levels here for Free Speech TV. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of one of the following four bumper stickers, either the Free Speech TV logo bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, obviously referring to Trump, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, very obviously referring to Trump bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, which is kind of timeless. With a $60 gift, which could be $5 a month for a year, you get the lapel pin Love Conquers Hate by the Human Rights Campaign, plus the Free Speech TV grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all four bumper stickers. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba, the picture that Louise took on her cell phone. And but it's a nice picture. I'm standing in front of a portrait of Fidel Castro that was painted in 1959. That's hanging in the Hotel Nacional. And a copy of my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt. You get the, with the Building a Just World on the front and Standing in Unity on the back, along with the Free Speech TV logo, or the freespeech.org logo. You get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate pin, lapel pin. You get my book on equal protection, and you get Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. A fascinating, great book. That's a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, $240 could be $20 a month for a year, but $360, $30 a month for a year, You get an autograph. You get the autographed photo of me in Cuba. You get the autographed book on equal protection. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a one-year subscription to our podcasts, the Thom Hartmann On-Demand podcasts. And you get all 4 of the bumper stickers that we mentioned at the $30 and $60 or $30 and $72 gift level. With a $480 gift, you get a DVD, about an hour of edited down footage that I shot while we were in Cuba, some really fascinating stuff. It's only available to Free Speech TV donors at the $480 giving level. This is the only way to get it. You get my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That would be me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get a gray Free Speech TV t-shirt with the Building a Just World logo on it. It comes in, it's unisex, and it comes in small, medium, large, and extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, and I'll take you to lunch. And there's some nice restaurants around here, and you can come sit in the studio, for a half hour or thereabouts, and watch the last half hour of the show, and interact with us and see how we do everything. Meet Nate, meet Sean, meet Arthur, meet Louise, and we'll have a nice time. That's with a $1,000 gift. So, all that's good stuff. But what's really important is we need to keep this television network on the air. We need to make this work, and that requires your help right now. Please call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the number. Thank you so much for your help. Help us finish this week with a bang.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Thom Hartmann here with you. Wow, John Bolton. Trita Parsi is going to be with us in a few minutes to talk about this situation with John Bolton. And Fox News is apparently programming the White House. Honest to God, not making this up. This morning, this appeared on Fox and Friends. And immediately thereafter, the president tweeted, well, maybe I won't sign the budget that was passed day before yesterday, which is fine with me. I mean, nobody's even read it. It's a couple thousand pages. But anyhow, here is Fox and Friends.
But this is a swamp budget. This is a Mitch McConnell special.
100%.
This is a dysfunctional Senate. There's things this White House wanted that they did get in there. Additional ICE funding, 10%, DHS funding up 12%, some infrastructure, opioid funding, fix NICS. There's no Dreamers in there. There's some pro-life stuff in there. There's no insurance bailout. But there's no wall. I mean, if you can't, ultimately, the Democrats controlled this process in the Senate. That's why Chuck Schumer was so happy. And I think a lot, if you believe the Republican Party is the party of fiscal responsibility, then I've got a bridge to sell you somewhere. The reality is this president cares about our military and was willing to give away things they didn't want in order to fund our military. That's something we should be happy about. But this is a swamp.
That was video courtesy of Fox News. And it looks like the White House is being programmed by Fox and Friends. And by Fox News generally. And that's a scary thing. And the latest swamp creature from Fox News to come into the White House now is I don't have my one sheet, by the way, Arthur, is John Bolton, God forbid, I mean, of all people. So on the line with us is Trita Parsi with the National Iranian American Council, NIAC, NIAC. Dr. Parsi, welcome back to the program. Dr. Parsi? Hello? He's not on the phone.
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you, yes.
Okay, great. Dr. Parsi, thank you for joining us this morning. You are familiar with John Bolton. You're familiar with the situation vis-a-vis Iran. What concerns you about John Bolton?
Well, what I'm concerned about is not just John Bolton, but everything else that is happening, in which John Bolton is essentially the last and perhaps the most scary move in it. What Donald Trump has been doing in the last couple of weeks by getting rid of Tillerson, now getting rid of McMaster and moving in John Bolton is that he is assembling a war cabinet. John Bolton has made it very clear in every piece he has written, not just in the last couple of months in which he has directly addressed Trump, but also before. He wants war. He prefers war as the first option. He has even argued for a preemptive nuclear strike against North Korea. He has been on record for years and years advocating war with Iran. Why would Donald Trump appoint such a person together with Pompeo at the State Department unless he is planning in going in that direction?
This is grim. How might that play out if Donald Trump were to give North Korea a bloody nose or give Iran a bloody nose, the phrase that keeps coming out of this White House, which traditionally has been called preemptive strikes or preemptive war? How could they be expected to respond? I'm guessing you're probably more familiar with how Iran would respond.
How would the North Koreans respond or the Iranians? Sorry,
I was asking broadly about both, and then I said I'm guessing probably you're more familiar with exactly how Iran would respond.
Well,
but if you have thoughts on North Korea, I'd love to hear them too.
Well, let me start off with Iran. I think one thing that people need to keep in mind is that they may think that this would be some sort of a repeat of the Iraq War, in which, as disastrous as that was, it was nevertheless not disastrous from a military perspective in the sense that Saddam Hussein was defeated in 3 weeks, and there were not a lot of U.S. casualties in that war. Most of the U.S. casualties came in the aftermath.
In the occupation.
Right. This, with Iran, will be dramatically different. Saddam Hussein had a conventional military, and he had really invested only in that. The Iranians have not invested in the conventional military as much as they have prepared themselves for the last 25 years for a non-conventional asymmetric war against the United States, with the U.S. initiating it, of course, which means that they will be targeting U.S. assets, personnel throughout the region, perhaps even beyond, knowing very well that they cannot beat the United States directly in a direct confrontation in a conventional warfare, but they can bleed out the United States because the U.S. has a lot of sitting ducks throughout the region. So you actually would see a tremendously high American casualty rate very early on in that war. And I think the Iranian calculation essentially will be that the U.S.'s casualty sensitivity will be forcing the U.S. to essentially end that war and concede at least a partial defeat, particularly mindful of the fact that casualty tolerance can be relatively high, granted that the population believes that this is a war of necessity. This is a war that very few people in the United States will support, even fewer will believe is necessary. So as the casualty rates go up, I think you will see a dramatic opposition to the war inside of the United States, and that's how the Iranians are likely going to try to, if not win the war, at least come out in some sort of a draw.
Yeah. And North Korea, of course, would presumably immediately start conventional bombing of South Korea. They've got this giant military just 30 miles from Seoul, take out millions of people very quickly if you were to try the same thing with North Korea. So
if you are a much smaller power and you are faced with a superpower and you have reached a point in which essentially avoiding war is impossible, then logic will dictate that you will try to inflict as much damage as possible on your enemy as quickly as possible, because you will calculate that that might be the only way of ensuring that the war will be a short war.
We're talking with Dr. Trita Parsi, the president of the National Iranian American Council. NIACCouncil.org is the website. You can tweet him at tparsi and at NIA Council. He is the 2010 recipient of the Grawemeyer Award for Ideas Improving World Order. He is the founder and president of the National Iranian American Council. His latest book, Treacherous Alliance, The Secret Dealings of Iran, Israel, and the United States, and A Single Roll of the Dice, Obama's Diplomacy with Iran. I guess that's actually your most recent book. What what can Americans do to prevent either of these wars right now? I mean, we're not in an electoral moment. I guess we're 8 or 9 months from one, but what can we do?
And even though the situation without a doubt is grim, there are still ways to prevent this. First of all, from a tactical perspective, it was a huge mistake for the Trump administration to put forward Bolton as a nominee for the national security, or not a nominee, that he's just been appointed for that because there's no confirmation hearing for national security advisors, before you had the hearings for Pompeo. Because now the Pompeo-Bolton thing is joined together, and that's going to make it more difficult for particularly Democrats to vote in favor for Pompeo, because a vote in favor of Pompeo is a vote in favor of John Bolton. A vote in favor of John Bolton is a vote in favor of war. No Democrat should be voting for Pompeo for that reason. And there are good reasons to believe that a sufficient number of Republicans will also realize that they cannot afford another disastrous Iraq vote.
Yeah. And this would be the equivalent of that. So the thing to do for people watching or listening who are concerned about this would be to call 202-225-3121, the switchboard for Congress, and talk to their senator, because Pompeo is going to require Senate confirmation, or talk to both of their senators. Everybody has 2 senators unless they live in D.C. And just say, no on Pompeo, and, indirectly, therefore, no on Bolton.
Absolutely, and they have to make very clear that they will view any vote on Pompeo as essentially them enabling Trump to go to war, and that they will be held accountable for that Congress cannot believe that they can escape the responsibility for the disaster that will follow if they vote in favor of Pompeo.
Yeah. Dr. Trita Parsi, thank you so much for dropping by today.
Keep in mind, elections are only a couple of months away.
Yes, yeah, make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure that the Republicans haven't taken your name off the rolls, as they did several 100,000 people just before the last election. And make sure that, everybody can vote. Dr. Parsi, thank you so much for dropping by today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Great
speaking with you. We'll be back. It's Anything Goes Friday, whatever's on your mind, but I've got a few other things I want to get to.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
In just a moment, including another killing of an unarmed black man. We'll be back. And welcome back. We got our phones fixed, I think, is the weirdest thing. Well, I'll talk about it after the break. Laura in Santa Rosa, California. Hey, Laura, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I'm well, thank you. There's so much on my mind, Tom. I am just swimming with this pick. Trump promised to drain the swamp, and which is a healthy ecosystem. If you think about a swamp, it's a part of the wetlands, right?
Right.
And he's turned it into a cesspool of fear, hate, and despair. And he's right on doing everything that he can to destroy and destabilize America. I totally agree that we're headed for war. Bolton is insane. He is crazy.
Well, the story, if you followed it back, it was in the 90s. I think it was 1994. There was a woman who was working for USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development, and they were at a conference in Moscow, and she was presenting at the conference, and Bolton thought USAID apparently shouldn't even exist, or whatever. He was very, very opposed to something she was doing. And he hounded her. He chased her through the hotel. He banged on her door. He called her misogynistic words. He tried to humiliate her in front of other people. He stalked her. I mean, her story is mind-boggling. If you can easily DuckDuckGo this thing or Google it, and this guy is unstable, and for an unstable man, an emotionally and intellectually unstable person, particularly emotionally unstable, filled with hate and anger and misogyny, apparently, to be the guy who is defining U.S. foreign policy, that's as bad as it gets.
Well, this proves that this is what Trump is up to, and we've talked about this before. He wants to be a dictator. He wants to be like Putin. And what has he done? He's put people, everyone he assigns or appoints are just the complete opposite or the antithesis of the department that he put them over so that they can destroy it. He's totally destabilizing our whole bureaucratic infrastructure, so that he will be the only one left. He's
This is what Steve Bannon
own,
called for. He said we want to deconstruct the administrative state. Those were his exact words, if I'm remembering them correctly, and I'm quite sure I am.
Right.
And
Well,
deconstructing the administrative state it sounds to me like let's destroy the United States government.
Now, can I just say one thing, and then I'm gonna let you go. The reason I really called in is because with what's going on between Cambridge Analytica and everything that we've learned, would you agree with me that we should abandon this bumper sticker approach to politics, to understanding politics? Can you see how just melting everything down to what will fit on a bumper sticker creates I'm not going to say lazy, I'm going to say creates people who do not participate in the political process. They're spoon-fed. They become sycophants. They become cult-like.
I share your concerns, Laura, but as long as our corporate media is embracing this advertising model where whatever story gets the most views, the most eyeballs, and makes them the most money, they're going to continue going with bumper sticker politics. It's not going to go away.
And this is why we're in this rabbit hole
It's
right now.
absolutely why we are, yeah. You can track this back to 1987 when Ronald Reagan blew up the Fairness Doctrine, in 1996 when Bill Clinton signed the Telecommunications Act, which allowed for this massive consolidation of our media. Laura, thank you for the call. And we need to reverse both of those. It's 20 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. A couple things I just wanted to note that are in the news, and then I'll pick up your phone calls. And also just to fill you in, normally I don't like to talk about the behind-the-scenes stuff or the technical stuff or what's going on here. But there's a cautionary tale here that might be useful for you in your own home or business. We have finally, I think, figured out the problem that we've had with our phones for months since we arrived here in Portland, Oregon. And finally, we've got Comcast is our phone provider, and we have called them over and over and over again. The service has been, shall we say, not stellar, and they were never able to solve the problem. And at one point even had us thinking that we were the problem, or our internal programming, or our routing, or whatever. Finally, they sent a guy out yesterday. And he says, oh, your telephone lines come in over the internet. The internet converts them into what looks like a telephone line, and that sends it into your communication system. We call it the telos system. And he said, but the modem that does this, the Comcast modem, has a little battery in it so that if you have a power failure, it remembers your settings. And when the battery dies, the thing goes flaky, which means that when we first came in here, instead of giving us a brand new modem with a brand new battery in it, they must have taken somebody else's modem, that was probably a year or two old. These batteries have to have a reasonable lifespan, and just dumped it on us. So we've been having this, crappy service for months and months and months because, Comcast apparently gave us a modem with a dead battery in it. That's the kind of bad news. And the good news is that, hey, it was that simple a problem, and hopefully we've solved it. So Anything Goes Friday should work. And if it doesn't work, please send me a tweet letting me know, because that's probably the easiest way to communicate with me. Put @Thom_Hartmann in there, and because I do check Twitter periodically throughout the show and throughout the day. So it should work. If you call 202-808-9925, should work just fine now that we have the new battery in the modem. Okay, all that said, takes on the news. I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts of what's going on here. Obviously, the appointment of John Bolton. I interviewed John Bolton back in 2007, and in fact, it's the transcript of it is on our website. You can find it. He didn't sound too crazy at the time, but I think when I interviewed him, I didn't have the whole background thing. This guy loves war. I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than warmonger. The New York Times today their lead headline, and this is from the editorial board. This is not some editorial writer. This is the entire editorial board, or at least a majority of them. The headline, "Yes, John Bolton really is that dangerous." They open the article. "There are a few people more likely than Mr. Bolton is to lead our country into war. Mr. Bolton believes the United States can do what it wants without regard to international law, treaties, or the political commitments of previous administrations. He argued for attacking North Korea. He has disparaged diplomatic efforts." I'm skipping through the article here. "He called for bombing Iran. He has maligned the United Nations. No one worked harder than John Bolton to blow up the 1994 agreement under which North Korea's plutonium program was frozen for nearly 8 years. The collapse of that agreement helped bring us to the crisis today." And as Trita Parsi said, "John Bolton and Mike Pompeo are more or less joined at the hip, and Mike Pompeo has to go before the Senate for confirmation. So call your congressman," number one. Number two, Trump has fired his, well, actually he quit, John Dowd, his real lawyer, on the did Trump collude, or did his kids collude, or did his campaign collude with Russia or any other foreign entity to try to basically steal the election. And, increasingly it's looking like the answer is an emphatic yes. And here's what I think is happening, because Trump just hired, Rachel Maddow last night just did a breathtaking takedown of this Fox News lawyer that Trump just hired. The guy, it's just bizarre. I mean, I'll just refer you to that. I'm sure you can find it at Maddow blog or at MSNBC's website. And it was one of her first segments last night. But what Trump has done is he's getting rid of lawyers who actually are lawyers, and I mean, as in they are litigators. They litigate cases, and he's replacing them with people with law degrees and presumably bar association credentials who are Fox News commentators. Now, why would he do that? I'm of the opinion that when Trump watches Fox News, he believes that the majority of Americans are getting their news from Fox News. He thinks that this is the way to communicate with America. It's actually just a few million people out of over 320 million people in the United States who watch Fox News. But Trump believes everybody does. And he's putting these guys on because he believes, and perhaps correctly, that Mueller cannot indict a sitting president, and that he can fire Mueller, and that the Republicans are not going to do what they did with Nixon, which is say, holy cow, that's a wrong thing to do, that the Republicans instead are going to circle the wagons and defend him. And so he doesn't have to worry about a legal defense. He has to worry about a PR defense because he doesn't want to find himself in the position Bill Clinton was in. If the Democrats had rallied behind Bill Clinton and fought Ken Starr and fought the Republicans, they could have won. They could have prevented the impeachment, even the vote, from happening. And I believe that is Trump's strategy. I believe that that's what he's up to. Yesterday I brought up, by the way, on another topic, yesterday I brought up the whole thing with Facebook, saying we need a law that says that when Facebook runs ads or when Facebook sells your information, I got a piece going up on Alternate today about this, when Facebook sells your information, they have to tell you what information they sold and to whom they sold it. So anyhow, your thoughts on all of these things. Hopefully the little battery in our modem is going to work, and we'll be able to take your calls right after this.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
It's 28 minutes past the hour. It's Anything Goes Friday on the Thom Hartmann Program. It's Friday, the last day of the Free Speech TV fund drive or membership drive or whatever you want to call it. And two notes. Number one, thank you to all the people who have signed up and made small gifts. We've gotten a lot of them, and it has really helped. We're still about $22,000, $24,000 down for this week's goal. And next week's goal is $50,000, and we really need to hit that, and then we'll have this thing wrapped up. Although next week's goal has now become $70,000, unless we can make up some of that $20,000 today. And so to that, please, small donations, keep coming, and please participate. 98% doesn't participate is probably down to 96% now. I mean, it's pretty spectacular. All the people who have responded and said, yes, I want to be part of the Free Speech TV family, and I honor you and thank you for doing that. Those small gifts across a broad spectrum of people really do make the difference. That's, you know, this is the old 80-20 rule. That's the 80% of our donations. But we also, well, it's not the 80-20 rule, but whatever. We also need our big donors to step up, which we have not so much seen in this last week. Perhaps because I've been focusing on small donors, but you know, if you can contribute $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 to Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We really need that help as well. Particularly if we can make up this $20,000 today. Two $10,000 donors would, or $4,000 or $5,000 donors would make it, or 10, you know, or 20, excuse me, $1,000 donors would do it. So there's a lot of work yet to do, and we're going to have to do this for another week, is virtual certainty. Quick thank you to four $1,000 donors who I'm looking forward to having lunch with. Robert W. from Port Orchard, Washington, Lynn and Ed from Kesta, New Mexico, D.H. from Los Altos, California, and Miriam R. from Albuquerque. And thank you so much for signing up, for donating $1,000 and for signing up for lunch with me. I'm looking forward to it. So here are the premiums, the gifts, as it were, at the different giving levels here for Free Speech TV. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of one of the following four bumper stickers, either the Free Speech TV logo bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, obviously referring to Trump, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, very obviously referring to Trump bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, which is kind of timeless. With a $60 gift, which could be $5 a month for a year, you get the lapel pin Love Conquers Hate by the Human Rights Campaign, plus the Free Speech TV grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all four bumper stickers. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba, the picture that Louise took on her cell phone. And but it's a nice picture. I'm standing in front of a portrait of Fidel Castro that was painted in 1959. That's hanging in the Hotel Nacional. And a copy of my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt. You get the, with the Building a Just World on the front and Standing in Unity on the back, along with the Free Speech TV logo, or the freespeech.org logo. You get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate pin, lapel pin. You get my book on equal protection, and you get Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. A fascinating, great book. That's a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, $240 could be $20 a month for a year, but $360, $30 a month for a year, you get an autograph, you get the autographed photo of me in Cuba, you get the autographed book on equal protection, you get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a one-year subscription to our podcasts, the Thom Hartmann on-demand podcasts. And you get all four of the bumper stickers that we mentioned at the $30 and $60, or $30 and $72 gift level. With a $480 gift, you get a DVD, about an hour of edited down footage that I shot while we were in Cuba, some really fascinating stuff. It's only available to Free Speech TV donors at the $480 giving level. This is the only way to get it. You get my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That would be me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get a gray Free Speech TV T-shirt with the Building a Just World logo on it. It comes in, it's unisex, and it comes in small, medium, large, and extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, and I'll take you to lunch. And there's some nice restaurants around here, and you can come sit in the studio, for a half hour or thereabouts, and watch the last half hour of the show, and interact with us and see how we do everything. Meet Nate, meet Sean, meet Arthur, meet Louise, and we'll have a nice time. That's with a $1,000 gift. So, all that's good stuff. But what's really important is we need to keep this television network on the air. We need to make this work. And that requires your help right now. Please call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the number. Thank you so much for your help. Help us finish this week with a bang. Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. You know, I've talked in the past about how the Congressional Review Act can be used to strike down administrative procedures taken by executive branch agencies like the EPA or the FCC, for example. You know, there's a Congressional Review Act, a CRA, motion of disapproval on Ajit Pai's destruction of net neutrality. We need at least one Republican senator to sign on for this thing. Evan Greer has been on our program a number of times, fightforthefuture.org. But now there's another one. There's the Republicans are trying to pass a Congressional Review Act striking down, repealing a rule that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau put into place before Mick Mulvaney took it over, that says basically that makes it harder for payday lenders to screw people. I don't know how to put it other than that. And Lindsey Graham just took a $38,000 contribution from the payday lending industry, $35,800, according to Carl Frisch, according to the Center for Responsive Politics, and then I just got this from AlliedProgress.org. Lindsey Graham takes a $35,800 donation, and then he votes, and then he introduces a bill, Senate Joint Resolution 56, to repeal the CFPB's protections against these predators. Lindsey Graham, another sellout Republican, surprise, surprise. Okay, let's see if our phones are working here. J. Mark, I don't have a city for you, J. Mark. I'm sorry. Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm actually calling from, I'm from Delaware, but I'm actually in Annapolis, Maryland right now.
Okay, cool. So what's on your mind?
How are you doing today?
Good. What's up?
So I'm actually calling, so it's actually my first time listening to your show. One of my friends turned me onto it, and so I was listening, and I love everything you have to say.
Thank you.
And part of why I'm calling is just everything that's kind of been happening in our country. Something that's extremely important to me is mental health and being aware of destigmatizing mental illness. And just with every single day, it just seems like we're constantly being beaten down over and over again, and there's this loss of hope and this loss of belief. And so what I do in my life is I am a YouTuber. I teach philosophy and life lessons through video games. It's kind of my way of showing education through a medium that's not necessarily always shown. And this month on my channel is Mental Health Month. So I'm actually doing a fundraiser for the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Okay.
They're a really awesome grassroots organization, and their entire goal is advocacy, education.
So let me get this straight. You're calling to promote your fundraiser.
If that is okay, I would like to
give us the URL so I can move on, please.
Yeah, no problem at all. It's bit.ly/GCNAMI.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck, J. Mark. I wish you the very best. Wayne in Chicago. Hey, Wayne, what's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, Tom. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Wayne?
Okay, yes. Just want to comment briefly on your guest that you had.
Dr. Trita Parsi.
Yes, I agree with his analysis completely. What I want to ask you is, okay, Pompeo, he has to be confirmed by the Senate, right?
Yes, he does. As head of the, as new
right?
State Department, yes, Secretary of State.
Him and Bolton. Okay, so what is the percentage of senators that have to confirm him?
If there's a filibuster, it takes 60 senators out of 100. If there's not a filibuster, it takes 50 or 51, 50 plus Mike Pence.
Okay. Well, your guest was spot on. We all know about Bolton. Bolton is a sociopathic, neoconservative warmonger, deep state, and we all know Pompeo's deep state. So Donald Trump is bringing all of these deep state people in, warmongers in, but he's saying he wants to do peace. Right. So, I mean, it looks like a complete contradiction to me. What about you?
I think the problem is that Donald Trump's brain is being programmed on a daily basis by Rupert Murdoch. We've got an eccentric Australian billionaire who owns a television network which is programming BS in large part, lies and memes and whatnot to cause the average American to want to vote for people who are representing exclusively the interests of billionaires. And they're programming Donald Trump and how to be the populist, how to disrupt the country, how to tear down the government of the United States. I mean, this is what's going on. And Rupert Murdoch's America is not my America. It's not the America that I think most Americans believe in or want. And it really concerns me. And now you've got Trump. He's brought like 4 Fox News people into the White House just in the last little bit here. You got one of them who is just a Fox News, bobblehead, who's the number 4 person in the State Department. You got 2 of them coming in as his lawyers in the Russia thing. And now you got John Bolton coming in as National Security Advisor. This is scary stuff, Wayne. This is really scary stuff.
And now, Tom, what people like Bolton are going to do is try to convince him to make no peace with North Korea, to go to war. That's right. What he's going to do.
Oh, yeah. These guys want war. Let us not forget, Wayne, looking at it from the billionaire's point of view, who ended up profiting from Nazi Germany? Their equivalent of the billionaires. It was millionaires back then. But and who profited from the Vietnam War? The billionaires, the military-industrial complex. War is insanely profitable. Not only did they just pass the largest defense budget in history, it was 600 and some odd, 675, I think, or 685 billion dollars, but they tacked on an additional $85 billion for, basically discretionary war. If Donald Trump decides he wants to declare a war, here's $85 billion. Get ready, guys. And we don't even know the details of it because the damn bill was just dropped on Wednesday night. It was voted on yesterday, and nobody has had a chance to read it. Nobody knows what's in it. It was written entirely by lobbyists. I mean, this is insane. It is just absolutely insane.
Okay, well, no Democrats should vote for the confirmation of Pompeo or Bolton, not one.
Yeah, well, Bolton doesn't need confirmation. That's the problem. That's why you get to Bolton through Pompeo. Wayne, thank you for the call. Very well said. Amen. Bruce in Port Jefferson, New York. Hey, Bruce, thanks for listening to SiriusXM. What's on your mind?
First of all, Tom, I want to thank you for what you do. I think you are the most knowledgeable, with the most breadth and the most depth of anybody on the radio or the television.
Well, thank you, Bruce.
What's on my mind is the Iran issue that was spoken of earlier in the program, and a factoid having to do with Iraq. Trump said every leader should look after the interests of their own country, and Bibi Netanyahu is looking after the interests of Israel. And essentially, Saddam Hussein was paying $50,000 to the survivors, the family of every suicide bomber in Israel. And that, in my opinion, was a very, very strong reason for us getting into Iraq.
I think you're right. I had forgotten that, but you're absolutely right. And that was the thing that enraged Israel and that presumably caused them to lobby Bush to take out Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, my opinion is that, the decision to go to war was made in Jerusalem. It was not made in Washington.
Yeah.
We were given orders. And now we're looking at Iran with a very similar outlook. It's like Bibi Netanyahu just stepped back on Iraq. It didn't cost him any soldiers. It didn't cost him any money. In fact, he got billions in foreign aid from America. And this, in my opinion, is what he and his American neocons are attempting to do regarding Iran. We're solving a problem for Israel. We're not solving a problem for ourselves. There's that computer fork analysis, which is, if we break the treaty, we then have a choice of either of war. I mean, it's war.
That's what it comes down to. Bruce, we're hitting a break here, but I agree.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archive.
And I think it's tremendously dangerous when American foreign policy is being determined in foreign capitals, whether it's Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or Moscow or China. fundraiser on mental health. Welcome back. Free Speech TV. Let's see here. Sibylla in Greer, South Carolina. Hey, Sibylla, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind?
Someone had called in earlier about mental health issues. I was in a car accident 2001, and since then I've been seeing a psychiatrist and a therapist, both in Ohio and since I moved here. And in both states, they are required by law to report you if you are going to be a danger to yourself or to others. And you're constantly quizzed whether you have guns, knives, and all these things. So, they watch out already. So I don't know what extra things anyone's supposed to do.
Yeah, I don't either.
I figured no one called that actually had some issues like me.
Yeah, I get
Traumatic
it.
brain injury, post-traumatic stress. So, and I think it's important they know, that at least in these two states I can verify because I've been in those two states, and that's what they do.
Yeah. Okay. Sibylla, thank you for the information. Chris in Salem, Oregon. Hey, Chris, what's on your mind today?
Tom, who you should start, the naysayers start bringing back is Peter Ferrara. I miss that guy.
Well, I wonder whatever happened to Peter. He hasn't been on our show in 5 years or so.
Yeah, I know, but he used to go on his little right-wing small man tirades, and it made for radio.
Yeah, I think he's moved on. I have no idea where he is or what he's up to. Sean says she thinks he quit his job. So, don't know.
He went crazy or something.
Don't
he
know.
was a little.
But you wanted to talk about the Austin bomber?
Yeah, so I had called a couple weeks ago, and I was the caller that told you I was the recovering Alex Jones listener, and I think since it's kind of Open Lines Friday, I wanted to kind of reiterate the point apropos of the bomber. I mean, we have a lot of, I'm 28 and I'm a white male, and we have a lot of lost young men out there that are like this Boston bomber, that they, I guess he worked a couple jobs and then he couldn't keep a job, went back to community college, was kind of moving back in and, in and out with his parents, and probably had some kind of, crippling mental illness of some kind. And I think you have a lot of young men where they reach a certain point where there's just no way out.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of the alt-right is saying that it's the gays are your problem, or it's the feminists, or it's all these different things. Like, your personal failures in life are not a consequence of any choices you've made, but it's the Illuminati, it's all this. And I think that you're having, just talk about a lost generation of males right now.
Well, and females too. It's just that we have a lost generation as a result of 37 years, 38 years now of Reaganomics. And it's just wiped out an entire generation of people. It's doing amazing damage even to the older generation, the boomers, for example, and Gen Xers. There was a report yesterday that IBM has laid off or fired about 60,000 people over the last X number of years. I forget the number. And the vast majority of them were people who were over 40 or over 50, and more than 60% of them, as I recall. And it's like, what has happened is, because of Reaganomics, wages have gone down because of Reagan's war on unions. And as wages have gone down, older workers at higher wage rates are being disposed of, and they're being replaced with younger people at half the price. And this is the destruction of a generation. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. We'll be back with more of your calls right after this. It's Anything Goes Friday. And Mark in San Diego. Hey, Mark, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, how you doing? Boy, I tell you what, John Bolton, you couldn't have picked a worse person at a worse time, could you?
I agree.
This guy is unbelievable. You know what really galls me, and I don't even profess to know Bolton's background, but I'll bet you my next paycheck that he didn't have any military service. I am so tired of these guys that have never fought in a war that are so ready to send other people's sons and daughters to go fight. I think if they're so anxious to go bomb another country, that they should put on a uniform and be right in the front lines with everybody.
Well, and ironically, the people that, I believe you're right. I'm quite sure that if John Bolton had engaged in any form of military service, that it would be part of his resume, and they'd be saying, John Bolton, a former Marine, that kind of thing. And they never say any of that. I can't say for sure that he's never had military service, but it certainly seems that way. But and I agree with you that the people with military service are the ones who are the most anti-war, at least those who have seen war. And those are the people that Trump is getting rid of. And there is the problem. Mark, thank you for the call. Very, very well said. Congressman Keith Ellison on the line with us. He is the...
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Congressman. You can tweet him at Keith Ellison. His website, ellison.house.org. And, of course, Democrats.org as the deputy director of the DNC. And, of course, brilliantly representing the 5th District of Minnesota. Congressman Ellison, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, man. Always good to be on with you.
Thank you. One of the things that amazes me is how if a Republican farts in the middle of the afternoon, it becomes a major story on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. But when Democrats actually do really cool stuff, it doesn't even get covered. The Congressional Progressive Caucus is the largest caucus in the Democratic Party, and you guys just introduced a debt-free college act, and I'm not seeing a damn word about it anywhere. Can you tell us about this?
Well, that's why we're so grateful for you, man. I mean, you're like one of the few people who really want to let folks know about good things going on. I mean, I got to tell you, a lot of times I'll meet with progressive community members who will say stuff like, how come you guys aren't doing anything? I'm like, it's a little more complicated than that. We are in a media blackout about any progressive news. And, but you asked about the debt-free college program. So here's the thing, man. We believe that with 44 million Americans having debt totaling about $1.4 trillion, that is a bad thing. Yeah. Not only is it a bad...
It's unprecedented. It's never happened before, too. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah. Well, and not only is it bad, because it's hella bad, but it is unnecessary, right? This is a choice that has been made for students and American families by people who want to make money on servicing and lending money. And the result is that, if you listen to the national real estate folks, they'll tell you that because of college debt, they're seeing a 35% reduction in home purchases by young people. They're hurting the rest of the economy by their debt overhang. And by the way, there is no dischargeability of student debt, not even private debt. I mean, almost all of it is co-signed.
Right.
And so it really is a big, fat, giant ripoff. And by the way, groups like Navient and formerly Sallie Mae, they are part and parcel of the problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you'll recall Ronald Reagan, when he was governor of California, ended free college education in California and famously said, why should I pay for the education of brats who protest my policies? And then he became president and began and put into place, Bill Bennett as our education secretary, a guy who had run for president before 1980 on the platform of doing away with the Department of Education. And Bill Bennett began the process of making it very, very expensive to go to college. And now we've got this situation. We've got $1.4 trillion in college debt. It's completely unnecessary. And this is another overhang from these insane Republican Reaganista policies. Anyhow, pardon my interrupting you, sir.
No. What you said was critical for people's understanding, because if I'm 54 years old, if you talk to someone my age, we'll tell you about how we used to be able to go to college on a summer job.
I did.
If you talk to somebody my son's age who's like 28, he's like, I never heard of such a thing, and I don't believe that it's even possible.
Yeah.
I mean, and so look, the society has shifted. It doesn't have to be this way. So what we did, we introduced Debt-Free College Act of 2018. And this is a bill that says, look, we will, the federal government will fund a match for states that are willing to put up the money to make sure that kids can graduate from college debt-free. Now, I personally believe the richest country in the history of the world can have free college. And if it's good enough for Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and a whole bunch of other countries, then that's good enough for our people as well. But debt-free college would simply create a situation where young people with a greater appropriation and commitment from our government will be able to graduate without carrying a massive debt load like they can now. People who say it's not possible, those are the cynics. Don't believe them. We've done it before. We can do it again. We just need to generate the amount of public will that would be necessary. And I think when you see young people leading the fight for gun safety, leading the fight for immigration justice, racial justice, I think we can parlay that into a movement which gives us debt-free college.
And this is not a radical or new thing. You were talking about, you're old enough to remember being able to go to college on a summer job. I went to Michigan State in the late 60s, and I put myself through, and I didn't graduate, but I put myself through college, both Lansing Community College and Michigan State University, working as a waiter and a dishwasher at Bob's Big Boy, and changing tires and pumping gas at the Exxon station on Trowbridge Road. My mother in the early 1940s graduated from Michigan State University, and she put herself through college. Her mother was very poor. Her father died when she was 13 years old, and she put herself through college working as a summer lifeguard. She was able, as a lifeguard in the summer, to make enough money to pay for her entire college education at MSU. This was normal. This is the history of this country. It was normal. And what people have to understand, the situation we have right now is abnormal. It was brought to us by Reagan, and it is explicitly to destroy the young people, the lives of the young people who were protesting Reagan's crazy policies in the 80s.
So this is what your information is what young people need to know, so that they know that we can change this thing around. I mean, look. I think that the Trump presidency is the worst thing ever, but it really is, and I think you're implying this, it is a culmination of a number of bad things that have happened.
Oh, yeah.
Starting with Reagan and Bennett and these guys who decided that public education was not a public benefit, but actually was something that was a commercially exploitable thing, and they wanted to essentially ration opportunity in the United States. Because that's just what is essentially happening. So I think that the debt-free college fight is a fight that is one that I'd like to see young people prioritize. It's something that doesn't just hit young people too, by the way, Tom. As you know, there's a lot of older folks who are hooked into these Parent Plus loans. And their interest rates are very high on these loans, and they're even garnishing Social Security checks. Essentially, they have tried to commercially exploit the pursuit of knowledge. It's wrong. We don't have to put up with it. Let's fight back.
Yeah, I'm with you. Congressman Ellison, if people want to call their member of Congress and support your legislation, we just have a couple of seconds. What should they say when they call their congressman or woman?
They should call me and say, I support the Debt-Free College Act of 2018.
Great.
And put me down, and we'll keep folks informed. So thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Congressman.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
From United Nations headquarters.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242
or visit tomsbeets.com. It's Friday, the last day of the Free Speech TV fund drive or membership drive or whatever you want to call it. And two notes. Number one, thank you to all the people who have signed up and made small gifts. We've gotten a lot of them, and it has really helped. We're still about $22,000, $24,000 down for this week's goal, and next week's goal is $50,000, and we really need to hit that, and then we'll have this thing wrapped up. Although next week's goal has now become $70,000, unless we can make up some of that $20,000 today. And so to that, you know, please, small donations, keep coming, and please participate. Our 98% doesn't participate is probably down to 96% now. I mean, it's pretty spectacular. All the people who have responded and said, yes, I want to be part of the Free Speech TV family, and I honor you and thank you for doing that. Those small gifts across a broad spectrum of people really do make the difference. That's, you know, the old 80-20 rule. That's the 80% of our donations. But we also, well, it's not the 80-20 rule, but whatever. We also need our big donors to step up, which we have not so much seen in this last week, perhaps because I've been focusing on small donors. But, you know, if you can contribute $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 to Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We really need that help as well. Particularly if we can make up this $20,000 today. Two $10,000 donors would, or $4,000 or $5,000 donors would make our 10, you know, or 20, excuse me, $1,000 donors would do it. So there's a lot of work yet to do, and we're going to have to do this for another week, is virtual certainty. Quick thank you to four $1,000 donors who I'm looking forward to having lunch with. Robert W. from Port Orchard, Washington, Lynn and Ed from Kesta, New Mexico, D.H. from Los Altos, California, and Miriam R. from Albuquerque. And thank you so much for signing up, for donating $1,000 and for signing up for lunch with me. I'm looking forward to it. So here are the premiums, the gifts, as it were, at the different giving levels here for Free Speech TV. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of one of the following four bumper stickers, either the Free Speech TV logo bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, obviously referring to Trump, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, very obviously referring to Trump bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, which is kind of timeless. With a $60 gift, which could be $5 a month for a year, you get the lapel pin Love Conquers Hate by the Human Rights Campaign, plus the Free Speech TV grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all four bumper stickers. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba, the picture that Louise took on her cell phone. And but it's a nice picture. I'm standing in front of a portrait of Fidel Castro that was painted in 1959. That's hanging in the Hotel Nacional. And a copy of my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt. You get the, with the Building a Just World on the front and Standing in Unity on the back, along with the Free Speech TV logo, or the freespeech.org logo. You get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate pin, lapel pin. You get my book on equal protection, and you get Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. A fascinating, great book. That's a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, $240 could be $20 a month for a year, but $360, $30 a month for a year, You get an autograph, you get the autographed photo of me in Cuba. You get the autographed book on equal protection. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a one-year subscription to our podcasts, the Thom Hartmann On-Demand podcasts. And you get all 4 of the bumper stickers that we mentioned at the $30 and $60 or $30 and $72 gift level. With a $480 gift, you get a DVD, about an hour of edited down footage that I shot while we were in Cuba, some really fascinating stuff. It's only available to Free Speech TV donors at the $480 giving level. This is the only way to get it. You get my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That would be me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get a gray Free Speech TV t-shirt with the Building a Just World logo on it. It comes in, it's unisex, and it comes in small, medium, large, and extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, and I'll take you to lunch. And there's some nice restaurants around here, and you can come sit in the studio, for a half hour or thereabouts, and watch the last half hour of the show, and interact with us and see how we do everything. Meet Nate, meet Sean, meet Arthur, meet Louise, and we'll have a nice time. That's with a $1,000 gift. So, all that's good stuff. But what's really important is we need to keep this television network on the air. We need to make this work. And that requires your help right now. Please call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the number. Thank you so much for your help. Help us finish this week with a bang. Oakley Tyler.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to Anything Goes Friday on the Thom Hartmann Program. Our quote for the day from James Baldwin from his book, The Fire Next Time. He says, I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hates so stubbornly is because they sense that once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain. That's fascinating. James Baldwin is one of the most insightful writers of the 20th century. Just an absolutely brilliant man. A couple of other things I want to rant about, and then I'll pick up your phone calls here. 11 seconds. This Meteor Blades blogging over at Daily Kos. 11 seconds. That's how long after cops first glimpsed Stephon Clark until they shot him 20 times. Stephon Alonzo Clark, Sunday night in Sacramento, California, was shot to death by police in his grandmother's backyard. He had jumped the fence and was going into her house through the backyard because the front door lock was broken. He was her grandson. He had a cell phone in his hand. 2 cops chased him into the backyard, thought the cell phone apparently was a gun, and shot 20 bullets at him. I don't know how many struck him. He is the father of 2. He was 22 years old. He was African American. Surprise, surprise, right? Cops kill another unarmed black man. Brazzy Liberty said, Stephen couldn't be here to watch the game. This is the Sacramento Kings versus the Atlanta Hawks at the Golden One Center. People in Sacramento, people marched down there and prevented people from getting in to see the basketball game because Stephon couldn't see it. He said, these people aren't going to be here to watch this game, said Brazzy Liberty, a musician and activist with Black Lives Matter. Police were looking for somebody who had been seen breaking car windows and breaking into an unoccupied house nearby. His grandmother, Sakita Thompson, she says, he was at the wrong place at the wrong time in his own backyard? Come on now, they didn't have to do that. I believe he lived with his grandmother. I think that he was actually coming home. And he was not, from all the evidence we have so far, he was not the guy the police were looking for. This is so very, very, very wrong. Another very wrong. When Heather Holland, this is from the Financial Times, yesterday or the day before. No, it's today's Financial Times, 3/23. When Heather Holland, a primary school teacher, went to collect her flu medicine at a local drugstore in Texas in January, she balked at the price. The pharmacist said she would have to pay $116 out of her own pocket, so she left empty-handed. A few days later, she died. She was 38. A Financial Times analysis of confidential and public pricing data has found that Mrs. Holland should have paid much less for her flu medication. Why? Well, they say the answer lies in part in the miserly health insurance policies now held by millions of Americans. And they point out she had one. She was insured by the Teacher Retirement System of Texas, which charges families a monthly premium of $1,300 a month and will not pay for drugs. And then they say the other problem is the way that the access to drugs is managed by for-profit middlemen, such as CVS's Health's Caremark, Express Scripts, and United Health's Optum. These middlemen, officially known as pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, are unique to the private U.S. healthcare system. In other words, there's not any other country in the world that has middlemen in the drug chain simply to jack up profits for the corporations they represent. Back to the Financial Times. Their business model involves amassing millions of patients from different health insurance plans before using the combined heft to demand big discounts from drug makers. But those discounts obviously are not making their way to the consumers. This is so wrong. We are the only, Bernie keeps saying this over and over again. Hillary Clinton campaigned on this. We are the only country, developed country in the world that has a for-profit privatized healthcare system. The only one. We are the absolute village idiots. Why? Because you've got libertarian billionaires pushing the idea of personal responsibility. We should all be paying our own health expenses. After all, you know, I was born a billionaire, I raised a billionaire, I'll die a billionaire. I've never had to worry about paying for health. This is just so wrong. People are dying as a result of this. Harvard University estimated 45,000, before Obamacare, 45,000 Americans were dying from lack of access to health care. After Obamacare, it went down to around 20,000 Americans a year dying from lack of access to health care. That's where we're at right now, because Republicans refuse to expand Medicaid in red states. You would think people in red states would revolt, but no, they're watching Fox News, owned by another billionaire, Rupert Murdoch, who is telling them, hey, it's just the way it should be. That's freedom, don't you know? And then, of course, that programming goes into the brain of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump then, oh, yeah, it's freedom, don't you know? We need to repeal Obamacare. Let's sabotage it. And he has been sabotaging it. It's absolutely terrible. Rick in Baltimore, Maryland. Rick, you have some information about John Bolton's military service?
Yes, sir. I love your show.
Thank you.
According to Wikipedia, he joined the Maryland National Guard, and then he served in the Army Reserve, but he never saw action in Vietnam.
So he did that to avoid the draft in the 60s?
It seems like it, because he wrote a comment in a reunion book from the school he went to that he didn't want to die in a Southeast Asian rice paddy.
Wow.
And then just on the
But he's
side
perfectly
note,
willing to have Americans and South Koreans and Iranians die to satisfy his own psychopathology.
Lust for war, it's
Yes.
all it is.
Yes.
And he is from Baltimore, and I don't take credit for that. I refuse to accept that. He did go to a military school outside Baltimore.
Oh, very interesting.
McDonough, I don't know if you heard of it.
Yeah, I haven't, but, you know, very, very good information. Rick, thank you so much. Thanks for clarifying that.
Great talking to you. I love your program. Keep up the good work. You help me maintain my sanity.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah, you too. Spread the word, please.
All right, have a good one now.
Thanks a lot, Rick. Good talking with you. Marcus in Harvey, Illinois. Hey, Marcus, what's on your mind today?
Hello. I believe you had a show on a couple of weeks back where you talked about a program where banks were using pension plans to shield themselves from a market collapse.
Right.
If that's correct, I was wondering if you could tell me what the name of that program was and give me some references as how to reach it.
I think what you're talking about is the plunge protection team, the PTT.
That could be it.
Yeah, because I don't recall any specific use of pension plans by banks to protect themselves from a crash. I think what you're referring to, and maybe it was something else, and maybe it's a story that I did that I don't have a specific memory of, but I don't, it's unusual. But the plunge protection team is a collaboration between the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury Department. And what they do is when the stock market drops more than 5%, they go in and they start buying stocks in order to support the stock market, or at least buying stocks on the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P, and in order to maintain those levels. And what they think they're trying to do is avoid a panic, a run on the market, a run on the stock market, it used to be referred to as. And in fact, what they're doing is they're supporting a bubble, a stock market bubble. And how much longer they can support that stock market bubble is an open question. And whether a stock market crash would take down the big banks, another open question, but I think it probably would. It's what took them down in 1929, and it's what took them down in part in 2007. Although you could say there is a chicken egg problem there, which precipitated the other. But I think it could be extremely destructive, and the plunge protection team, in my opinion, is a very, very bad idea. They're just postponing the inevitable. Marcus, thanks for the call. Good to hear from you. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 15 minutes past the hour.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Back with more of your calls on Anything Goes Friday right after this. And welcome back. Carrie in New Windsor, Maryland. Hey, Carrie, what's on your mind today?
Hey, thanks for all the good work you do, man.
Thank you, Carrie. What's up?
Happy Women's History Month, everybody. Just wanted to remind everybody of that.
There you go.
Thank you. I have a statistic from CNN and a statement and a question. So, the CNN says that out of 195 countries that exist on this planet, I guess, 59 of them either had women rulers or currently do have women rulers. So my statement is, if everybody wants to see, or if everybody listening and everybody who you think would want to see this would like to see Trump beat by a woman in 2 years, then I think everybody has a lot of work to do.
Amen. And by the way, if you look at the countries that have women leaders, whether it's Rwanda in Africa or whether it's, I believe Norway. Well, I'd have to go back and look, but the Scandinavian countries are, women are well represented politically, and I believe it's Norway, and it could be Sweden, mandates at least half of their parliament be women. I think it's 40% is the mandated level. And those are the countries that are not warmongering countries. And Rwanda, of course, suffering a horrible shock from the genocide, the slaughter that happened there. Back to you, Carrie.
Yeah, you had great stuff to say about that. You were listing all these things that men do that women don't do at the beginning of the month. That was really great. So anyway, just to let other people in, my question is, I found on your website from March 8th from the Stacks thing that there's a link to a website that says that a woman is assaulted every 9 seconds. So I was wondering
in the United States,
much more often. So I was wondering if anybody could think about, or if everybody would just think about how much more often than a woman is verbally degraded.
Sure. Yeah, it's got to be every second or less. I mean, it's just, we have a testosterone poisoned culture, and we have to reconcile that. And it's not just the United States. I mean, this is all over the world. And that testosterone poisoning ultimately leads to death, destruction, war. You don't see women, generally speaking, you don't see women being accused of rape. You don't see women being accused of assault. You don't see women generally being accused of murder unless it's in self-defense. And it's not women who are doing school shootings. It's not women who are lobbying for war. You get the rare exception, of Margaret Thatcher, for example. But if anything, she's the exception that proves the rule. And this, if we want to have more rational, less testosterone poisoned politics, and I think that that's really vital, particularly. And you talk about testosterone poisoning. I mean, just look at Donald Trump and John Bolton, right? If we want to have more rational politics, we need to be electing women to elective office. I saw a headline yesterday. I didn't read the whole article.
Can I ask you just another question, Tom?
Yeah, we've got 10 seconds.
All right. Have you heard of MGTOW or MRA or MRM?
No.
Okay. There's a men's rights organization going on. And if anybody wants to look up toxic masculinity, I'm just learning about them.
A lot of those men's rights groups, Carrie, are just fronts for skinheads and white nationalists, too. Carrie, I got to run, but thank you for the call. And thanks for watching us on Free Speech TV. It's coming up on 20 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back.
I think that putting a wife to work is a very dangerous thing.
Here on the Thom Hartmann Program, Carrie in Seattle, Washington. Hey, Carrie, what's up?
Hi, it's Terry with a T.
Oh, Terry, I'm sorry. Hello, Terry.
No worries. Hi, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I think a few weeks ago, you brought up this topic. You were musing about why more people weren't actually trying to leave the country. Do you recall that?
Yeah, and I was talking about my experience when George Bush was elected, sort of on a lark and sort of half serious, calling Norway and saying both my grandparents on my father's side were Norwegian immigrants to the United States. Can I immigrate to Norway? And they basically said, no, we don't want you guys.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I recall that, and I'm calling because I actually did this.
Oh.
My two grandfathers immigrated from the same part of Europe. They arrived in America in 1910, and a couple years ago, I started doing some research, and it was started as sort of a genealogical project and kind of on a lark, and I thought, oh, look, I can apply for citizenship in this country. Wouldn't it be cool to have two passports? Well, the day after the election, my husband woke up and looked at me and said, do it now. And it was quite a challenge because I did have to show proficiency in a language that I hadn't studied for over 30 years, and I had to take a test in a foreign language, and I had to gather a zillion documents. But my anger and my fear and my frustration to this whole situation that our country's got ourselves in led me to this process where I actually did apply last year. And it in this case, now every country is different,
sure,
but in my case, it probably will take a couple years. And so I'm just kind of in a wait-and-see mode.
Wow. Now, is this, I don't know the rules on U.S. dual citizenship. I know that you can be a dual citizen with Israel, but I don't know, and I've heard that you can be a dual citizen with Canada. I'm not sure of that. Will you end up with dual citizenship, or are you going to become a citizen of an East? You are, okay.
Yes, and
cool.
This country is part of the EU, so that also opens up some opportunities for living and working in various parts of the EU. And
yeah,
so
anywhere in Europe.
Yeah, it's my backup plan.
Wow.
I'm just, this is my personality. I needed to do something for myself, and I'm not really outgoing. I don't feel like getting involved in politics, but I am good at foreign languages.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, that was the first barrier for me. The first thing that the guy at the Norwegian embassy said was, you have to speak proficient Norwegian. And I remembered when I was a little kid, my grandparents talking to each other in Norwegian whenever they didn't want us to know what was going on. They refused to teach Norwegian to my father because, you know, we're Americans now, right? We learn English. And I really mourn that. I wish that they had taught it to my father and he had taught it to me. There was just no way that I could become proficient in Norwegian, you know,
Well,
in a year.
And similarly, my parents were not proficient in it. I had to go and study it in college. But again, it was 30 plus years ago when I was studying it, and the words that I taught, I can go buy a beer and a bottle of wine, but nobody taught me the words for Constitution and Parliament. And so I basically spent 6 months memorizing 100 questions and answers in a foreign language.
That's amazing. Well, Terry, good luck. And you know, it's terrible that we're even thinking this way, you know?
I agree.
It's just, it shouldn't be. America should be, you know, to paraphrase Ronald Reagan, quoting John Kennedy, paraphrasing John Winthrop, the shining city on the hill. You know, we really should be. We once were in many regards. Obviously, you know, we've always had our failures and our faults, but no country is without fault. But
that's why my grandparents came here, and they were amazingly successful for immigrants and uneducated, and they found the American dream, and they built this wonderful life. And if they were alive today, they'd probably be shocked.
Yeah, same with my grandparents on my father's side, who came here recently. My mother's side has been here since the 1600s, but up in Massachusetts way. But anyhow, Carrie, thank you. Thanks for sharing your story with us. It's fascinating. I appreciate the call.
I'll let you know if I get it.
Okay, yeah, do it. Thank you. Matt in Omaha, Nebraska. Hey, Matt, what's on your mind?
Hi, I listen to your show every day. Love your show.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment. I don't even remember the guy's name, but it's probably been about a month ago. You had interviewed a gentleman and you asked him about the neo-Nazi that was running for Congress in Illinois.
Right.
And the first thing that this guy said was, well, the Republican Party has always been the more pro-Israel party. I had to stop listening at that point. I feel like he completely missed the point.
Right.
When he said that, I mean, you could definitely be, especially speaking from personal experience from people that I know, you can be anti-Semitic and love Israel. It's not one of the
Matt, it goes way beyond that. A lot of the Christian, so-called Christian fundamentalists who love Israel because in the last days all the Jews are supposed to die.
Yes.
Or convert to Christianity. 144,000 of them convert to Christianity, and then Jesus returns.
Right. But that was just really, really scary for me to have him just completely dodge that and go right to that. It's like, you're completely missing the point.
Yeah, and this guy, by the way, he ran unopposed, and which is how an open Nazi, I mean, he was the former head of the American Nazi Party, how this guy became the nominee, the Republican nominee in Illinois. But still, he was on the ballot. Over 20,000 Republicans voted for a Nazi, an actual Nazi.
I did see that.
Yeah. Who's going to be running against Dan
That's
Lipinski, and Lipinski is, of course, I think going to have an easy time beating him. But Lipinski was the anti-abortion Democrat who was being challenged by a progressive Democrat in the primary. He lost by 2 points, and apparently he lost because a lot of Republicans voted for Lipinski. There was this big campaign to get for anti-abortion Republicans to vote for Lipinski in the primary so that they'd have another anti-abortion Democrat in the House of Representatives. Matt, I got to run, but thank you for the call. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
More of your calls in just a minute. It's the Thom Hartmann Program, Anything Goes Friday. Talk media for the sane among us. It's Friday, the last day of the Free Speech TV fund drive or membership drive or whatever you want to call it. And two notes. Number one, thank you to all the people who have signed up and made small gifts. We've gotten a lot of them, and it has really helped. We're still about $22,000, $24,000 down for this week's goal. And next week's goal is $50,000, and we really need to hit that, and then we'll have this thing wrapped up. Although next week's goal has now become $70,000, unless we can make up some of that $20,000 today. And so to that, you know, please, small donations, keep coming, and please participate. Our 98% doesn't participate is probably down to 96% now. I mean, it's pretty spectacular. all the people who have responded and said, yes, I want to be part of the Free Speech TV family, and I honor you and thank you for doing that. Those small gifts across a broad spectrum of people really do make the difference. That's, you know, this is the old 80-20 rule. That's the 80% of our donations. But we also, well, it's not the 80-20 rule, but whatever. We also need our big donors to step up, which we have not so much seen in this last week. Perhaps because I've been focusing on small donors, but you know, if you can contribute $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 to Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We really need that help as well. Particularly if we can make up this $20,000 today, two $10,000 donors would, or $4,000 or $5,000 donors would make, or 10, you know, or 20, excuse me, $1,000 donors would do it. So there's a lot of work yet to do, and we're going to have to do this for another week, is virtual certainty. Quick thank you to four $1,000 donors who I'm looking forward to having lunch with. Robert W. from Port Orchard, Washington, Lynn and Ed from Kesta, New Mexico, D.H. from Los Altos, California, and Miriam R. from Albuquerque. And thank you so much for signing up, for donating $1,000 and for signing up for lunch with me. I'm looking forward to it. So here are the premiums, the gifts, as it were, at the different giving levels here for Free Speech TV. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of one of the following four bumper stickers, either the Free Speech TV logo bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, obviously referring to Trump, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, very obviously referring to Trump bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, which is kind of timeless. With a $60 gift, which could be $5 a month for a year, you get the lapel pin Love Conquers Hate by the Human Rights Campaign, plus the Free Speech TV grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all four bumper stickers. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba, the picture that Louise took on her cell phone. And, but it's a nice picture. I'm standing in front of a portrait of Fidel Castro that was painted in 1959. That's hanging in the Hotel Nacional. And a copy of my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt. You get the, with the Building a Just World on the front and Standing in Unity on the back, along with the Free Speech TV logo, or the freespeech.org logo. You get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate pin, lapel pin. You get my book on equal protection, and you get Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. A fascinating, great book. That's a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, $240 could be $20 a month for a year, but $360, $30 a month for a year, you get an autograph, you get the autographed photo of me in Cuba, you get the autographed book on equal protection, you get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a one-year subscription to our podcasts, the Thom Hartmann on-demand podcasts. And you get all four of the bumper stickers that we mentioned at the $30 and $60, or $30 and $72 gift level. With a $480 gift, you get a DVD, about an hour of edited down footage that I shot while we were in Cuba, some really fascinating stuff. It's only available to Free Speech TV donors at the $480 giving level. This is the only way to get it. You get my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That would be me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get a gray Free Speech TV T-shirt with the Building a Just World logo on it. It comes in, it's unisex, and it comes in small, medium, large, and extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, and I'll take you to lunch. And there's some nice restaurants around here, and you can come sit in the studio, for a half hour or thereabouts, and watch the last half hour of the show, and interact with us and see how we do everything. Meet Nate, meet Sean, meet Arthur, meet Louise, and we'll have a nice time. That's with a $1,000 gift. So, all that's good stuff. But what's really important is we need to keep this television network on the air. We need to make this work, and that requires your help right now. Please call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the number. Thank you so much for your help. Help us finish this week with a bang. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. It is Anything Goes Friday on our program, and Mary in Evanston, Illinois. Hey, Mary. Thanks for listening to WCPT. What's on your mind?
Yes, Tom. I was just scanning through my phone on my Facebook page, and I came across an interesting article for Politico regarding Bolden.
Mm-hmm.
There has been some investigation since Trump announced him. So what I'm saying is that he has been found to have ties with the Cambridge Analytical Digital.
Yeah, he owned a super PAC called John Bolton Super PAC, and that super PAC was one of the early groups to hire Cambridge Analytica. And he spent a fair amount of money with them, you know, for communication stuff that, you know, involved both figuring out who to talk to and figuring out how to say it to them. So yeah, there's something pretty weird here. And John Bolton, I mean, where did he get the money to start a super PAC?
Exactly, and that's what, when I read that, I said super PAC. Well, what we, you know, so the whole issue is with me concerned. This is very concerning to me as well. Is that you know, the Republicans obviously know of this. I mean, I can't see how come they wouldn't know about this. So what do you think the impact is going to be, if any, I doubt if any, pertaining to this information? Because we know that the issue now is with this, the Cambridge Analytical, with stealing of, you know, our information.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that, I shouldn't say, but I'm just hypothetically thinking, you know, how does this have any impact through the
Could
the
this
Democratic
derail his being the national security advisor, for example? Is that what you're asking?
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it can't, because the national security advisor position does not require Senate confirmation. Trump appoints him, he gets the job, yeah. So, you know, and if anything, I think his having hired Cambridge Analytica, by the way, Ted Cruz hired Cambridge Analytica too. I think his having hired Cambridge Analytica actually is probably a benefit for him in Republican circles. I mean, you've got a party that is owned by billionaires and run by billionaires. Cambridge Analytica, you know, Rebecca and her father, Robert Mercer, funded the thing, and billionaires, Trump supporting billionaires, arguably the billionaires who made Trump president. And,
exactly.
You know,
now, I don't want to dwell on that issue too much, but I just want to touch on one more issue, and then I'll hang up and let you see if you have any knowledge on this. I read yesterday, I'm not sure if it was Political, but nevertheless, it was pertaining to the Ronstein having a meeting or a television at 10 o'clock, and it didn't say what. I don't know if that was fake news or not. But regarding the Cambridge Analytica digital, with the investigation with Mueller and his findings of those that are involved with that, and they were supposed to have some kind of televised coming on and talking about this. This was supposed to have been some kind of breaking news.
Yeah, Rod Rosenstein held or Stein, excuse me. They pronounce it Steen over at Fox News to try to, you know, emphasize his being Jewish. Rod Rosenstein held a press conference, I believe, this morning. I went to the transcript of it, but the transcript was long and it was in all caps, and we were running out of time to go on the air, so I can't give you the details on that, Mary. But I'm sure it'll come out.
Well, how would I find that? I mean, how could I find the outcome of that?
I would just plug it into a search engine right now and you know, see what it has to see what it says. Probably his name, Rod Rosenstein, and you know, press conference, you know, March 23 or something like that. So
I could just go and just kind of put that in there and see.
yeah,
what
you
I
should be
come
able
up
to track
with.
it down. In the meantime, during the next break, I'll see what I can find out about it. Mary, I got to move along, but thank you for the call. Tony in Atlanta. Hey, Tony. Thanks for listening to Sirius XM. What's up?
Hey, Tom. How you doing, man?
I'm well. What's up, Tony?
Hey, man. I heard a gentleman called in earlier, and he nailed something that I've been found out about years ago, and I know you did too also. He said that Netanyahu, those guys, those hardliners, they're the ones mostly behind that with the Iran thing. Oh, man, he nailed it. And I really appreciate that guy calling and saying that. And also, the thing with John Bolton, oh, man, that's nothing but a war zone there.
Yeah.
That's it. That's nothing.
Yeah, right-wingers love war. You know, whether they're Israeli right-wingers or American right-wingers or Russian right-wingers or Chinese right-wingers or, Taiwanese right-wingers. I mean, that's kind of the definition of the hard right is they believe in violence and force. And they use violence in their families. They believe in spanking their kids. They want to use violence as countries. And this should trouble all of us. Tony well said, thank you for the call. Chuck in Durham, North Carolina. Chuck, what's on your mind today?
Hi there. I had some memories of things, and I just tried to find it, and I discovered something. I'd like to read just a few sentences from the article written by John Nichols in April 13, 2005, John Bolton versus Democracy.
Okay.
And I'm going to read it now.
We discourage reading on this program, but if you can keep it to 1 or 2 sentences, go for it.
Well, it's 5 short sentences. I'm with the Bush-Cheney team, and I'm here to stop the count. Those are the words of John Bolton.
Oh, that's right. He was part of the Brooks Brothers riot down in Florida in 2000.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And I just wanted to make sure that it was noted on your show today.
Right.
Those were the words of John Bolton yelled as he burst into the Tallahassee Library on Saturday, December 9, 2000, where local election workers were recounting ballots cast in Florida's disputed presidential race between George W. Bush and Al Gore. Bolton was one of the pack of lawyers for the Republican presidential ticket who repeatedly sought to shut down recounts of the ballots from Florida counties before those counts revealed that Gore had actually won the state's electoral votes.
Right. You know who was the lawyer advising that that campaign down in Florida, and the campaign to shut down the recount, and who was advising the lawyers who argued Bush v. Gore before the Supreme Court was John Roberts. And for that service, George W. Bush made him Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court.
Exactly. So one last, a couple last ones, because this is a little bit deeper into the article, not much. Very easy to read, easy to find.
Yeah. John?
At the behest of former Secretary of State James Baker, who fronted the Bush-Cheney team during the Florida fight,
right.
Bolton winged his way to Palm Beach, where he took the lead in challenging ballots during the county's recount. Then, when the ballots from around the state were transported to Tallahassee for the recount ordered by the state Supreme Court, Bolton followed them. So I needed to get that in here because I can swear, though I couldn't find in the short order I was looking for it, couldn't find an image of John Bolton down in one of the counties where he was getting his minions to shout out to stop the vote. Stop.
Right.
These were not locals.
No, most of them actually were on the staff of who was the House, the Speaker of the House at the time? I think it was the guy from Texas who was prosecuted. Say what? No, not Hastert. He was from Illinois. The congressman from Texas. Anyway, they were members. They were congressional staffers in 2000. And I'm sorry, I don't recall who was the Speaker of the House in 2000. But most of the people in the so-called Brooks Brothers riot were from there. There were some lobbyists. There were some other Republican staffers. And they were pretending to be Floridians, and they were pretending to be outraged. And the media picked it up and ran with it and never even questioned it. And
exactly.
It's obscene. And that's how they were able to have the court of public opinion not kick back in their face when they basically stole the election from Al Gore, which is, well, not basically, they did. They stole the election from Al Gore, and they used the Supreme Court to do it. Chuck well said, thank you for the information. Margie in Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. Hey, Margie, what's on your mind today? What's
I'd
up?
like to talk about Kayleen Wiley.
whose life support system was turned off this morning.
This is the young woman who was shot in Maryland by the Maryland school shooter a few days ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. For she had the temerity to turn him down.
Right.
And is now dead because of that.
Another symptom of testosterone poisoning in our culture.
And what really makes me angry is these gun nuts saying, look, the good guy good guy with a gun saved the school. He didn't save anybody.
Right.
The intended victim is dead.
Yep. And another person was shot, and we don't know if that other person was shot by the school guard or by the guy who killed this woman that you just identified. And the school guard certainly didn't prevent him from bringing a weapon onto the school. And you know, we have too many damn guns. I mean, that's just.
We also have too many young men who are unable to say no. Let's also remember that the Parkland shooter had abused at least 3 women.
Right.
And what they're not discussing is whether or not he was targeting one of those victims, because the shooting happened on Valentine's Day.
That's right.
But nobody talked about that.
No, the misogyny behind most of these school shootings and most mass killers is generally not reported, and I don't know why. Most of these guys, the biggest predictor of somebody becoming a mass shooter is if they have abused women in their life, you know, with violence. And you know, it's like people don't want to talk about it. So the media certainly doesn't. Margie, thank you. Spot on. And thanks for listening to Sirius XM. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We'll be checking with Talk Media News in about 4 minutes, find out what's going on in the world. Stick around. And welcome back. Barbara in St. Paul, Minnesota. Hey, Barbara. Thanks for watching Free Speech
Hello.
TV. What's up?
Well, hello, Citizen Tom. How are you doing today?
I am well. I hope you are too.
Well, I'm trying. I watched this interview last night with this young woman that's supposed to have a relationship with Donald Trump.
Yeah, Karen McDougal. I didn't see it. I've seen the clips from it in the morning news, but what'd you learn?
To sit and watch her, what really bothers me is we have this religious right who's against abortion. Once the children get here, they don't want to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
We have young men grabbing up guns. If a girl says, no, I don't want to go with you, I'll go to the school and I'll kill them.
Yep.
We got millions of children on buses now coming to Washington, D.C. to say, hold up, wait a minute, this is getting out of hand.
Or has gotten, yep.
Yeah, we have a network that tells the president what he should and should not do.
Or think, yep.
I don't understand Fox News. They behoove me. I don't get them. This thing about the wall. But what really bothered me about this young woman and what really bothers me about the religious right, they claim that they're with the 10 Commandments. One of the main commandments is, which is I'm counting here, number 5, thou shalt not commit adultery.
Right.
They're like, this is fine for him.
Yeah.
Donald Trump can have as many women as he wants to.
Yeah,
on TV.
Tony Perkins has certified him. He's just fine, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Pat Robertson loves him.
And if you say this enough, and people get mad, and this dude got mad last night on CNN with Anderson Cooper. If that had been Barack Obama, he would have been hung and quartered by now.
Yeah.
They tried to find something on this man. They couldn't. I'm not saying Barack Obama was perfect. He didn't have no halo and he didn't have no wings. But he was a doggone good president.
You know what they went after Barack Obama for, Barbara? They went after him for wearing a tan suit one day. They went after him for holding a cup of coffee while he saluted a Marine.
Yes.
They went after him for smoking cigarettes. They went after him for a picture of him smoking a joint when he was 17 or 18 years old.
Thank you.
I mean, this is the stuff these were the huge scandals that Fox News spent days on about Barack Obama. And, now he's got all these women. He's got, a couple of dozen women or more than a dozen women who are accusing him of sexual assault. And Fox News is we don't see anything. We don't know anything. Yeah.
Let's not actually talk about it. I am sick and tired of listening to Donald Trump, his tweets, and all this. The Congress is sitting on their hindy parts. What they're scared of him for, I do not know.
Yep.
Because I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound real sad. We have a nitwit as president of the United States.
Brilliant.
And for him to go get a warmonger that wants to go and fight Iran, I don't know why. Like these people that's going to sit here and let America come through and drop bombs from these drones or whatever the heck they call themselves going to do.
Yep.
Makes no sense to me. We're sitting here and just letting this happen over and over. He's got rid of this person and this person and this person and this person and this person. And nobody's saying a doggone thing. We have a few to speak up, but they're not going to him and say, you know what, Mr. President, I hate to even say the word Mr. President. What's the problem?
Yeah. No, I think the good news, Barbara, is the American people are waking up, and you're going to see the proof, the evidence of that tomorrow in the March for Our Lives. Barbara, thank you for the call. You said it so very well, very, very well. And thanks for watching Free Speech TV. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 10 minutes before the hour. Do we not have... If you try an online... Talk Media News and find out what's going on in the world today. This report brought to you by goatsfortheoldgoat.com and Ellen Ratner's new book, Loving What You Do. On the line with us from New York, the UN Bureau Chief, and you can follow him on Twitter at The Courier, Luke Vargas. Luke, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So what's up in the world today?
Well, of course, we're all watching the news that John Bolton will be the new national security advisor, and I don't know if you've been talking about this all show, but there are a few little bits that I will throw in that I think relate more specifically to the angles that I pay attention to on most days, namely here at the United Nations. I think there is some wariness about this. Of course, John Bolton was, in George W. Bush's second term, the ambassador to the United Nations, which was a role that he was sort of put in as a sort of exile by more mainstream thinkers within the administration on foreign policy, like Condoleezza Rice. Bolton, in his autobiography, I think in 2007, even sort of describes being at the UN as something of being cast away from Washington, D.C., but I think there are reasons to suspect that this is bad news for the United Nations, sort of against all odds, in my view. Nikki Haley, the UN ambassador, has sort of been able to have a decent relationship with the UN leadership here. That's changed a little bit of late. I think we might have talked a week or two ago about a leaked policy document from Nikki Haley that suggested the U.S. is sort of using votes against Israel at that Jerusalem resolution last December as a litmus test on who gets aid from the U.S. and who doesn't get aid. But before that, Nikki Haley and Antonio Guterres, who's the head of the United Nations, had sort of seen eye to eye. Haley was tasked by President Trump with finding budget cuts. He, in turn, had just come into office and was pledging reform. And so they sort of use these somewhat overlapping interests to pursue a reform agenda together. Now I think there's reason to suspect Bolton, who really does not believe in what, you know, optimists in the foreign policy community would call, quote, the international community. He doesn't see he sees that as a scary term, you know, a venue in which American influence is distorted and maybe not magnified as much. And he dreads a lot of parts about the United Nations, says that any agencies at the United Nations that are not voluntarily funded and that are instead funded, you know, sort of on a scale of how big is your economy, this is what you owe us, that those are inherently against American interests and are not transparent. So I think we are here at the United Nations of the belief that there is going to be sort of a moment of reckoning for the UN, and that the budget cuts that may have been proposed last year and the attitude from the U.S. towards the United Nations we saw in the first year of the Trump administration is only now going to get more severe.
That is not good news. What else is going on, Luke?
I will say we've been watching the Chinese response to these tariffs announced yesterday by President Trump. He says they're $60 billion in value. The U.S. Trade Representative's office says $50 billion. Either way, it's quite a substantial sum.
These are the U.S. imposed tariffs. China
Exactly,
says they're going to impose $3 billion in tariffs, don't they?
Exactly right. Now, so that's what's interesting here. I mean, the folks that I've talked to this morning say, look, China has a ton of leverage that they've yet to put on the table. They may have, made some, communicated some sort of warning back to the U.S. behind closed doors. But to come out with a $3 billion number suggests, at least in these initial hours and days after the announcement, that they may be sort of acknowledging that there is a there when President Trump makes these complaints about intellectual property theft, and that it's up to them to be the compromising party here that averts a trade war. They do not want to be seen as the country that's escalating this spat. So that could be an explanation for the relatively low, tariff that they announced today on 128 U.S. products. But on the other hand, there are some suggestions here. We even saw speeches earlier this week from the Chinese saying, yeah, we are going to change some of the rules for market access. We're not going to mandate that foreign firms hand over all their intellectual property and other patents and things in order to do business in our domestic marketplace. So perhaps, again, China is sort of acknowledging that they're the party that needs to move here if they want to avert a trade showdown with China. But again,
but after 30 years of these, after 30 years of these practices, they're pretty much in a position where they can do that. They're now self-sufficient. They can provide for their own internal market as well as export. We are not self-sufficient. We cannot provide for our internal market. If Chinese goods vanish from American stores, we would be in a world of pain. That is absolutely not the case for China.
And
go ahead.
Let me just throw in our final seconds here that the Bolton bit ties in here. And Bolton has said in the past that a trade war with China is not something he's particularly afraid of. He's called for close ties with Taiwan, even calling for the U.S. to station troops in Taiwan so that we can deploy into the South China Sea and other places, and said if China disagrees with this, let's just talk to them. They need to either deal with it or we can hash it out. So, we do see a possibility here of, pairing President Trump's increasing, willingness to go after China on the trade front with a American foreign policy where we're just not sensitive to China's pushback on some of our moves. So that's an interesting
that latter part concerns me. The former part, I mean, just because Donald Trump says it doesn't mean it's automatically wrong. China's policies toward American companies and international business has been extremely predatory for decades, and it's continuing to be. But anyhow, Luke, thanks so much for the news. Luke Fargus with Talk TV News. Good talking with you. We'll be back with an Engos Friday right after this.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242
or visit tomsbeets.com. It's Friday, the last day of the Free Speech TV fund drive or membership drive or whatever you want to call it. And two notes. Number one, thank you to all the people who have signed up and made small gifts. We've gotten a lot of them, and it has really helped. We're still about $22,000, $24,000 down for this week's goal, and next week's goal is $50,000, and we really need to hit that, and then we'll have this thing wrapped up. Although next week's goal has now become $70,000, unless we can make up some of that $20,000 today. And so to that, you know, please, small donations, keep coming, and please participate. Our 98% doesn't participate is probably down to 96% now. I mean, it's pretty spectacular. All the people who have responded and said, yes, I want to be part of the Free Speech TV family, and I honor you and thank you for doing that. Those small gifts across a broad spectrum of people really do make the difference. That's, you know, this is the old 80-20 rule. That's the 80% of our donations. But we also, well, it's not the 80-20 rule, but whatever. We also need our big donors to step up, which we have not so much seen in this last week, perhaps because I've been focusing on small donors. But, you know, if you can contribute $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 to Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We really need that help as well. Particularly if we can make up this $20,000 today. Two $10,000 donors would, or $4,000 or $5,000 donors would make it, or 10, you know, or 20, excuse me, $1,000 donors would do it. So there's a lot of work yet to do, and we're going to have to do this for another week, is a virtual certainty. Quick thank you to four $1,000 donors who I'm looking forward to having lunch with. Robert W. from Port Orchard, Washington, Lynn and Ed from Kesta, New Mexico, D.H. from Los Altos, California, and Miriam R. from Albuquerque. And thank you so much for signing up, for donating $1,000 and for signing up for lunch with me. I'm looking forward to it. So here are the premiums, the gifts, as it were, at the different giving levels here for Free Speech TV. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of one of the following four bumper stickers, either the Free Speech TV logo bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, obviously referring to Trump, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, very obviously referring to Trump bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, which is kind of timeless. With a $60 gift, which could be $5 a month for a year, you get the lapel pin Love Conquers Hate by the Human Rights Campaign, plus the Free Speech TV grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all four bumper stickers. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba, the picture that Louise took on her cell phone. And but it's a nice picture. I'm standing in front of a portrait of Fidel Castro that was painted in 1959. That's hanging in the Hotel Nacional. And a copy of my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt. You get the, with the Building a Just World on the front and Standing in Unity on the back, along with the Free Speech TV logo, or the freespeech.org logo. You get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate pin, lapel pin. You get my book on equal protection, and you get Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. A fascinating, great book. That's a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, $240 could be $20 a month for a year, but $360, $30 a month for a year, You get an autograph, you get the autographed photo of me in Cuba. You get the autographed book on equal protection. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a one-year subscription to our podcasts, the Thom Hartmann On-Demand podcasts. And you get all 4 of the bumper stickers that we mentioned at the $30 and $60 or $30 and $72 gift level. With a $480 gift, you get a DVD, about an hour of edited down footage that I shot while we were in Cuba, some really fascinating stuff. It's only available to Free Speech TV donors at the $480 giving level. This is the only way to get it. You get my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That would be me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get a gray Free Speech TV t-shirt with the Building a Just World logo on it. It comes in, it's unisex, and it comes in small, medium, large, and extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, and I'll take you to lunch. And there's some nice restaurants around here, and you can come sit in the studio, for a half hour or thereabouts, and watch the last half hour of the show, and interact with us and see how we do everything. Meet Nate, meet Sean, meet Arthur, meet Louise, and we'll have a nice time. That's with a $1,000 gift. So, all that's good stuff. But what's really important is we need to keep this television network on the air. We need to make this work, and that requires your help right now. Please call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the number. Thank you so much for your help. Help us finish this week with a bang.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thom Hartmann.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So, day before yesterday, the Republicans played the game that they always play when they control the House and the Senate. They pushed legislation, must-pass budget legislation, funding the government for another year, $1.3 trillion piece of legislation. They pushed it right up to the day before the vote so that nobody could read it, because the bill was largely written by lobbyists. In fact, in several places in the bill, it had language defunding ACORN. ACORN has been dead for years. ACORN, of course, the organization that was registering poor people to vote. Can't have that. Republicans hate that. And they introduced so many different pieces of legislation back in the day that, when Obama was president, ACORN was taken down in the last year of the Clinton or the George W. Bush administration, or maybe the year before the last year. But in any case, still, this language just sticks around, right? Because the lobbyists write some legislation, or the Republicans write some legislation, or both, and it just gets pushed through. So anyhow, Trump was like, he was convinced by McConnell and Ryan, hey, this is a good thing. Let's just go ahead and sign it. And then he watches Fox and Friends this morning, and Fox and Friends are like, hey, there's no wall funding in here, and there's no DACA thing in here. It looks like they made a fool of Donald Trump. And Trump just goes on a rampage tweeting, I might veto this thing. And then, of course, the time comes, and he's like, well, Congress is gone, and I guess I better do it. But it really sucks. I'm going to sign it without reading it because nobody read it. That was the implication of what he said. And it's just, it's a tantrum. I don't know how to say it beyond that. It's a tantrum. He said, as crazy as it's been, as difficult as it's been, as much opposition we've seen from the Democrats to creating what will be by far the strongest military we've ever had. He's trashing Democrats? The Republicans control the House. The Republicans control the Senate. The Republicans fed this process. Every single thing in this bill came, to the extent that it came out of committee, came out of Republican-controlled committees, and he's blaming it on Democrats? So that's number one. Number two, Rod Rosenstein held a press conference this morning in which he announced that the United States has indicted 9 Iranians in a, quote, massive hacking scheme, end quote, on behalf of Tehran. Now, why is this of consequence? This is of consequence because 3 months ago, in January, the Pentagon released their nuclear posture review, which is basically an annual statement of here's the state of our nuclear weapons and here's when and how and under what circumstances we could use them. And they added a new thing to it in January of this year. We can now use nuclear weapons in response to a cyber attack. Yes, a cyber attack by, say, Iran could provoke us to drop bombs, nuclear bombs, on, say, Tehran. And so that happens in January, the nuclear posture review. In response to cyber attacks, we can attack with nuclear weapons. And then John Bolton comes in, who has said basically, you don't want North Korea to have a nuke? Nuke them. You don't like what Iran is doing? Nuke them. Bomb, 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 bomb Iran. I mean, this is his thing. And now Rod Rosenstein comes out and says, we are going after 9 Iranian hackers. They have provoked essentially a cyber attack against the United States. The question in my mind is this the beginning of the war? Are we now looking at the run-up to war with Iran? A disastrous war. What would be an insanely disastrous war? What would be the beginning of World War III? What could kill at least 1 billion human beings? What, if it turned into a nuclear war, could even sterilize our planet, at least with regard to the ability of our planet to support human life? Is that what we're looking at? I think it's entirely possible. And if we don't get politically active, if we don't get engaged, if we just let this go by, we are dooming our children and our grandchildren and future generations. We got work to do. Meanwhile, from the very big picture, nuclear war, to a much smaller picture, waiters and servers, right? People who I was going to say waiters and waitresses. I think it's all waiters now, as we're slowly genderizing our language. Had an interesting conversation, by the way, with I believe she was a professor of anthropology in Cuba, about how the Cubans are, like in the United States, we've taken stewardess, and now it's flight attendant, so it's gender neutral. The waitress, and now it's waiter, gender neutral. Actress, it's generally actor now, gender neutral, or performer or whatever. We're looking for words to replace gender-specific words in our language. They're doing the same thing in Cuba with Spanish. I thought that was fascinating. Anyhow, speaking about waiters, this is the latest story. Jonathan Chait, writing in the New York Magazine. The Department of Labor has this new rule that Labor Secretary Alex Acosta wants to promote, and Budget Director Mick Mulvaney is gung-ho for, that says that tipped workers, instead of the money being theirs, the money belongs to their employer. So if you're a waiter in a restaurant and somebody leaves $10 on the table, right now, under law, barring some other agreement that you have with your employer and barring state laws to the contrary, that money is yours. The Labor Department wants to say, no, that money is your employer's, and your employer can decide what to do with that money, that $10. Whether it goes to you or whether it goes to, gets split among the kitchen staff and the dishwasher and the cooks, or whether it just stays in the employer's pocket. And so to find out what the consequences of this rule would be, the Labor Department commissioned an investigation into it. And the investigation came back saying, guess what? Billions of dollars, certainly hundreds of millions of dollars, will simply be stolen from waiters, waitresses, dishwashers, and whatnot, will simply be stolen from them by their employers. The employers will steal the tips if you give them the legal right to do so. So what did the Trump administration do? Reading from Jonathan Chait's piece in New York Magazine. This, reports Bloomberg Law, quote, allowed the department to delete from the proposal internal estimates showing businesses could take hundreds of millions in gratuities from their workers, end of quote. So they're going to go ahead with a rule They're just not going to justify it with their internal evaluation, because the internal evaluation said, yeah, the employers are going to steal millions, hundreds of millions of dollars from waiters, waitresses, wait staff, whatever you want to call it. This is not good. Tony in Huntsville, Alabama. Hey, Tony, thanks for calling in. Thanks for listening to WCPT. What's up?
Tom, how you doing?
I'm well, Tony. What's on your mind?
Great. Actually, the word is server.
Server, you're right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and we tip anyway. We tip the bartenders, we tip the bus boys, anybody that help us get those tables clear, we're tipping them.
Yep.
But what I called about, Tom, is what Trump is doing. I don't know if you've heard, but he's saying he really doesn't want to have a chief of staff.
Well, that's what's been reported, is that he has muttered to people that if he gets rid of the general who is his chief of staff right now, that John Kelly, that he just might do it himself, because when he ran the Trump organization, he did not have the equivalent of a chief of staff.
Right. Well, I guess that's going to be Fox News now. I mean, why need a chief of staff? You got Sean Hannity. I mean, you got the judge. What's her name? You know, Tom, I want to get your opinion on this. When you go to Fox News and you only want to hear from Fox News, the message you're sending is, I only want to be president for this group of people. And I just want to know your take. How does it feel to officially not have a president? And this is not the BS. He's not my president. This man is only the Republican president. And I refer to him as the Republican president, Donald Trump, because he's saying, I don't want to be anybody's president except for these people.
Well, it's even narrower than that, Tony. There's a bunch of Republicans, look at Jeff Flake and Bob Corker. There's a bunch of Republicans who have repudiated Trump. He's not just he's not the Republican president. He is the white bigot president.
So the rest of us don't have no representation at all.
That's correct.
If you're not a white nationalist, David Duke, white supremacist, you don't have a president. So he's a president for the 35%. But here's what I'm going to do, Tom. I'm going to elect you as my president, and I'm going to send something to Free Speech TV, and I hope you accept the nomination.
Okay, I'll do my best. Tony, thank you very much. It is not a laughing matter, though. Donald Trump and the Republican Party, actually, only represent the billionaire class and the white bigots. That's it.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And the sooner we figure all this out and get on the program, the better. We'll be back. It's 16 minutes past the hour. And welcome back. Marie in Oak Creek, Colorado. Hey, Marie, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind?
My pleasure. Noam Chomsky said a while back, and I'm not going to get the quote exactly correct, but this is important, I think, before my other comment. He said, if we ever get a smiling con man, God help us.
Yeah.
And that's what we have.
You're exactly right.
Chomsky is prescient, brilliant.
Yep.
You're just a few months older than me, and I would like to get your response to this. I'm going to the demonstration with the students tomorrow on gun violence in the schools. I'm a former school teacher. I'm now teaching in retirement as a theologian. But my poster says, Boomers, : we owe our children and grandchildren an apology and action now. My contention is our incredibly wealthy, affluent, well-educated generation has betrayed the generations that follow. I mean, Native American theology speaks of this, or spirituality speaks of this over and over again. The decisions are made out to the generations. So many Eastern spiritualities have this built into them. I am shocked and embarrassed at how our generation has failed generations to follow. And my contention is that we boomers have never faced our own mortality. We have allowed ourselves to live our lives in a perpetual adolescence of never growing up, never accepting responsibility. Now we're facing our own mortality. And as we die off, we will take everything down with us. What do you think?
I am not. I'm not willing to blame my generation. There are certainly problems in our generation, but I think that there's an overlay here that is missing from your analysis, Marie. In 1971, as boomers were coming of age, in 1971, Lewis Powell wrote a memo to Eugene Sindor, the head of the Chamber of Commerce, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and his friend and neighbor, saying that basically the billionaires and the corporations need to take over the institutions of America. They need to take over our colleges. They need to take over our courts. They need to take over Congress. They need to take over our schools. They need to take over the companies that publish our textbooks. They need to take over basically every aspect of American life. And to do this, they need to create think tanks that need to be well funded by billionaires. They need to create institutions of propaganda, television and radio networks. They need to create an institution to nurture young conservative judicial talent. This is the Federalist Society. He laid out a plan, and Joe Coors and there's a list of them. A bunch of these billionaires got together, and they funded this stuff, and they made it happen. And our generation, if you want to identify a sin of the boomer generation, is that we were too fat and happy. Although, I would say that our experience during Vietnam belies that, and our experience with the civil rights movement belies that, because it was the boomer generation that provoked, in large part, the greatest generation played some role in it, the civil rights changes as well. So I'm not willing to go there, Marie, but I understand what you're saying. And we didn't speak out enough, and we didn't fight back enough. And this generation is doing that. Maria, I've got to go, but thank you for the call. We can continue the conversation another time. We'll be right back. It's 21 minutes past the hour. Anything Goes Friday here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Tim in Beaverton, Oregon. Hey, Tim, what's on your mind?
Hey, I appreciate getting through and talking to you. I'm enjoying your program. I haven't been watching it very long, and it seems like liberal TV and liberal talk shows have kind of disappeared in the Northwest a little bit.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years.
Well, we used to be on Clear Channel here, but Clear Channel decided to, with a couple of exceptions, purge progressive programming from their 1,000-plus radio stations.
But just a couple of things I wanted to go with, and this is something that I've got a simple answer to the question. You said, when is World War III going to come? It was the day he was inaugurated as president, basically.
Yeah. Or maybe you could even go back to when Republicans took control of the House and Senate.
Yeah, absolutely. But very interesting, and this is what I've been saying. I have a degree in history, and I grew up in the height of the hippie generation in San Francisco. My dad was military, so I understand how society works, let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. But, and I've been saying this to some of my educated friends. I said, look, there's two people in control of the planet right now. Vladimir Putin, because he's got Trump, he's got a dossier on Trump, and you know that. It's as simple as that. That's why Trump won't even go after the guy.
I think, if I may interrupt you just for a second here, my personal opinion of what's going on with Trump and Russia, and every fact I've seen backs this up, is not that Putin's got video of Trump getting it on with hookers in Moscow, although he may. I don't think Trump would care that much about that. He's weathering Stormy Daniels just fine so far. I think what it is that when Trump declared bankruptcy the last time, the only way that he could literally keep his own business, I mean, he was looking at being homeless.
Right.
The only way he could keep his own business was with a giant loan from Deutsche Bank and giant cash infusions from oligarchs around the world, some of them in the Middle East, where Trump has now built properties, many of them in Russia. And I think that without Russian money, without the money from Russian oligarchs, and probably oligarchs connected to the Russian mob, without that money, Donald Trump would be penniless. His kids would be out on the streets. Right. They'd be hustling for nickels and dimes, and his entire empire would be shattered. And I think that's why he refused to release his tax returns, and that's why he refuses to say anything bad about not just Putin, but any Russians.
Well, here's the thing. Warren Buffett, George Soros, Bill Gates, they all come up with this liberal ideology. They could put that guy out of business tomorrow if they wanted to. That's the scary part. And then the other person is Rupert Murdoch, and I've been saying this, and of course it's been mentioned on your program. He takes his intelligence briefings from Fox News. Right. Fox News is the biggest terrorist organization on the planet. What they're doing is generational. You see what I mean? Because what they're doing is they're shoring up that Second Amendment base that put that guy into office, and that's the scary part. And what these young people are doing right now, it takes a lot of people being murdered in order to react, but the millennials who didn't register and don't vote, they need to go out and register to vote, vote for the Democratic Party, and what they need to do is they need to boycott these sponsors for Fox News. That would really have an effect on them. Yeah. They don't understand the power.
Well, yes and no. The average age of a Fox News viewer is 69.6.
Oh, absolutely. I know that, right.
In the last survey that I saw. And, it might have aged. It might be over 70 now because that was a year or two ago. And so I think the millennials are getting more and more of their news. The millennial generation is getting more and more of its news from the internet. And that's both the good news and the bad news, particularly given what we've learned about how easily the internet is manipulated by bad actors like Cambridge Analytica.
Absolutely. And there's one, I'll try to be brief and get off, but I've really enjoyed talking to you. But there's a large article in today's Oregonian in the Portland area. It's called The Opinion. It says, why conservative Christians are sticking with Trump. And I'll just give you just two quick lines. It says, it's a scene when you read this thing, but it says, he is a deeply flawed man, but Trump does have one moral quality that deserves admiration. He keeps his promises. And then it's... This is classic. And then it says...
Ask his wives about that.
It says Christian conservatives are judging Trump by his faith, and by his works. And when it comes to life and liberty, his works are good. Now, that's what we have to contend with. And the only way you're going to eliminate that nonsense is for these young people to get out and vote. Yeah. And that's the only way that's going to solve this problem.
What's really behind that letter to the editor, Tim, or op-ed or whatever it is, and I would bet that it was written by somebody affiliated with a large and profitable religious nonprofit, is that Trump has promised the religious right that he's going to do away with the Johnson Amendment, and I still haven't figured out if that was done away with in either of the two most recent major pieces of legislation. Yeah. The Johnson Amendment says that if you are a 501c3, if you are a nonprofit, we are all subsidizing you by giving you nonprofit status. You don't have to pay for your fire department. You don't have to pay for your police department. You don't have to pay for the public roads. We are subsidizing you. In exchange for that, keep your nose out of politics.
Absolutely.
And that was passed by Lyndon Johnson when he was in the Senate in the 1950s. And it has stood all these years, and Trump wants to take that down, which would make it, very easy then for televangelists and people who are handling literally millions of dollars a month in religious money. The Pat Robertson.
You talk about a moral disaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just classic. And this whole thing with the guns and all the murders and so forth. I grew up in a military family, so I understand how this. I understand how the system works. But what's happening, every time they have one of these major incidents where people are killed, the GOP hierarchy and the NRA, they meet behind closed doors in some walnut-paneled office with French champagne, and what they're doing is they're celebrating this stuff.
That's right. Yeah. No, actually, gun sales go up when these things happen. Tim, thank you for the call.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Back with more of your calls on Anything Goes Friday right after this. It's Friday, the last day of the Free Speech TV fund drive or membership drive or whatever you want to call it. And two notes. Number one, thank you to all the people who have signed up and made small gifts. We've gotten a lot of them, and it has really helped. We're still about $22,000, $24,000 down for this week's goal. And next week's goal is $50,000, and we really need to hit that, and then we'll have this thing wrapped up. Although next week's goal has now become $70,000, unless we can make up some of that $20,000 today. And so to that, please, small donations, keep coming, and please participate. Our 98% doesn't participate is probably down to 96% now. I mean, it's pretty spectacular. All the people who have responded and said, yes, I want to be part of the Free Speech TV family, and I honor you and thank you for doing that. Those small gifts across a broad spectrum of people really do make the difference. That's, this is the old 80-20 rule. That's the 80% of our donations. But we also, well, it's not the 80-20 rule, but whatever. We also need our big donors to step up, which we have not so much seen in this last week. Perhaps because I've been focusing on small donors, but if you can contribute $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 to Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We really need that help as well. Particularly if we can make up this $20,000 today. Two $10,000 donors would, or $4,000 or $5,000 donors would make it, or 10, or 20, $1,000 donors would do it. So there's a lot of work yet to do, and we're going to have to do this for another week, is virtual certainty. Quick thank you to four $1,000 donors who I'm looking forward to having lunch with. Robert W. from Port Orchard, Washington, Lynn and Ed from Kesta, New Mexico, D.H. from Los Altos, California, and Miriam R. from Albuquerque. And thank you so much for signing up, for donating $1,000 and for signing up for lunch with me. I'm looking forward to it. So here are the premiums, the gifts, as it were, at the different giving levels here for Free Speech TV. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of one of the following four bumper stickers, either the Free Speech TV logo bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, obviously referring to Trump, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, very obviously referring to Trump bumper sticker, and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, which is kind of timeless. With a $60 gift, which could be $5 a month for a year, you get the lapel pin Love Conquers Hate by the Human Rights Campaign, plus the Free Speech TV grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all four bumper stickers. With a $120 gift, you get an autographed photo of me in Cuba, the picture that Louise took on her cell phone. And but it's a nice picture. I'm standing in front of a portrait of Fidel Castro that was painted in 1959. That's hanging in the Hotel Nacional. And a copy of my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt. You get the, with the Building a Just World on the front and Standing in Unity on the back, along with the Free Speech TV logo, or the freespeech.org logo. You get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate pin, lapel pin. You get my book on equal protection, and you get Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. A fascinating, great book. That's a $240 gift. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, $240 could be $20 a month for a year, but $360, $30 a month for a year, you get an autograph, you get the autographed photo of me in Cuba, you get the autographed book on equal protection, you get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a one-year subscription to our podcasts, the Thom Hartmann on-demand podcasts. And you get all four of the bumper stickers that we mentioned at the $30 and $60, or $30 and $72 gift level. With a $480 gift, you get a DVD, about an hour of edited down footage that I shot while we were in Cuba, some really fascinating stuff. It's only available to Free Speech TV donors at the $480 giving level. This is the only way to get it. You get my book on equal protection, autographed by the author. That would be me. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coulers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get a gray Free Speech TV T-shirt with the Building a Just World logo on it. It comes in, it's unisex, and it comes in small, medium, large, and extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland, and I'll take you to lunch. And there's some nice restaurants around here, and you can come sit in the studio, for a half hour or thereabouts, and watch the last half hour of the show, and interact with us and see how we do everything. Meet Nate, meet Sean, meet Arthur, meet Louise, and we'll have a nice time. That's with a $1,000 gift. So, all that's good stuff. But what's really important is we need to keep this television network on the air. We need to make this work. And that requires your help right now. Please call 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669 is the number. Thank you so much for your help. Help us finish this week with a bang. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, 34 minutes past the hour. Jim in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hey, Jim, what's on your mind today? You're our old cab driver, right?
Yes, I'm the former cab driver who was put out of work by Uber and Lyft.
Oh,
but
my.
We won't get in.
Okay.
We won't get into that.
What's up?
I was listening to a couple of different things. I'll try to keep this on point. And the thing about the tips belonging to the employer, well, I don't think that would really work here because most restaurants in Santa Fe, most places pay their staff about $2 and change an hour, and that's just to cover taxes. So
that's true in most states, by the way. Portland, Oregon is one of the few cities in America to require that the prevailing minimum wage, and I think it's over $10 an hour here in Portland, be paid to wait staff as well as to servers as well as everybody else. Back to you, Jim.
Yeah. So here, that whatever regulation or whatever you want to call it that you referenced, I think they would fall afoul of labor laws.
Well, the Labor Department wasn't saying that the employers would keep all of the money. Right now that $10 is yours as a server, and now your employer might say, well, you can keep 8 of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have a lot of, if that happened here, you'd have a lot of people saying like, well, we're just going to go find another job, and they have a really hard time getting wait staff because if I was working for $2 an hour and the restaurant said they're going to keep it, I'm like, okay, well, you can run the tables too. I'm out of here.
But if your $2 an hour plus tips right now is working out to $16 or $18 an hour, and your employer looks at that and goes, there's people who work for $12 an hour. I'm going to keep $4 of that $10 tip.
Yeah.
Then the wait staff is going to stick around. They're going to carefully calibrate this. This was the Trump administration Labor Department who did the analysis, and they determined that it would be hundreds of millions of dollars that would be stolen from workers by their employers. The progressive think tanks were coming up with multi-billion-dollar numbers.
Well,
everybody agrees employers are going to steal money from servers.
They might. It depends on the restaurant. I think if you had places doing that, they would quickly get a really bad reputation and have a hard time getting people to work for them.
One would hope, but we've seen this gradual reduction in average wages. I mean, average wages have dropped by about half since Reagan became president. So now you need two full-time people working in a household to support a household that in 1980 you could do with one employee. And I have not seen people in the streets around that.
Well, yeah, okay.
GM stopped paying $45 an hour. They're hiring people at $14.50 an hour right now.
I know. It's going down the drain, and the rich are getting richer, and the poor are getting poorer.
Yep.
Another thing I don't like is the Orwellian reprogramming, the newspeak reprogramming, and the degenderification of our words. I don't like server. I don't like airline attendant. I like waiter and waitress, and I like sex-specific names. It really reminds me of the book 1984. The reprogram of our language to basically, we're going to get to the point we're going to be calling everybody comrade, and I really don't like that.
Why should we define people's job roles by gender?
I just don't like the fact that it's an attempt at mind control. It's when I was reading the book in 1984, and they're calling each other comrade, and they have all these Orwellian words. If you can change a person's language, you can change their mind.
1984 was written post Soviet Revolution. So comrade was the word that was used, and that was what George Orwell used. But I don't understand why anybody would want to continue to have words that suggest that only one particular... The reason it's waitress and stewardess was because those were low-paid jobs that were intended specifically for women. And the whole idea was the women get the low-paid jobs.
There's also waiter and steward. I mean, it's just male and female. And I was at a restaurant a little while ago, and I said, I just in a friendly tone of voice, I know all these people. I said, do you know where my waitress is? And the millennial guy said to me, well, here we say server because we're gender neutral. And I said, I'm gender specific because she's a female person, and I'm sure she wants to be called a woman, not like it. So do you know where she is?
But waitress is not woman. Waitress is employee who happens to be female.
Sure.
This is what I don't understand, Jim. I can understand why you would want to use gender-specific pronouns. You would want to say, she did this, I'm going to talk to her or him. I understand that because, it helps clarify language. But why should we have gender-specific nouns to describe job descriptions?
I don't have a problem with that. I don't think it's a put down. I don't think saying my waiter.
But why is it necessary?
What's that?
Why is it necessary? Why even have them? Why have actor and actress? Why not just call everybody an actor or a performer or whatever?
I prefer sex specific. It's not a discrimination thing. It's not some sort of put down.
No, but it is by society, Jim. It has been by society. Look at how much more, to use the gender specific nouns. Look at how much more money actors earn than actresses. I'm guessing it's true of waiters and waitresses too. The fancy high-end restaurants tend to have more male waiters. The low-end, cheaper restaurants, you show up at the Waffle House, it's always going to be a woman, a waitress. I
disagree because I've gone to the low-end places here in town. There are plenty of waiters there, and my girlfriend works at a place, and there are waiters and waitresses there, and they pool their tips, and everybody gets exactly the same amount.
Well, good on them. When this new policy is announced by the Labor Department, they won't be able to do that anymore because their employer will take all their tips and decide what that employer is going to redistribute to the wait staff. But anyhow, I think we've both had our say on this, Jim. All right, can we move along?
I guess we can move along.
Okay. Thanks a lot for the call. Good to hear from you. Jim in Los Angeles. Hey, Jim, what's on your mind today?
Professor Hartmann, it's a beautiful day in L.A., sunny skies.
Oh, wonderful. I'll be there tomorrow. In fact, I'll be there tonight. So.
All right.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh, we're working on a documentary about climate change. So I'm coming down for that.
With Leonardo?
Yeah, indirectly, yes. Yeah, he's producing it.
All right. I still pray for peace on earth. We can't change it with belief and hard work, but happy Easter, he is risen. But back to business, the Fox Nixon News Network is controlling this buffoon, and Sean Hannity is the de facto head of the Freedom Caucus, and Fox and Fiends are feeding this demented president hate-laced, debased filth, dishonoring lifelong public service in the FBI with deep state conspiracies that are destroying the minds of the masses that consume hate radio on the Fox Nixon News Network.
Right.
Tom, why wouldn't affiliation with Cambridge Analytica be treason?
Well, because everything that they did was legal. We need to pass. This is why I wrote this op-ed about Facebook. And not just Facebook, any company that sells my information, whether it's my doctor's office or whether it's Facebook, if they're going to sell, or the pharmacy or the Safeway or whatever it may be, if they're going to sell my information, they should notify me of what information they sold and to whom they sold it. Period. We need a new Bill of Rights, a privacy Bill of Rights in the United States.
But they had an affiliation with foreign countries. It was foreign countries affecting our election.
It was Cambridge Analytica was funded by Robert and Rebecca Mercer. It was the CEO was Steve Bannon. It spun off a British defense contractor, yes, but this is a company maybe based in England. And Cambridge sounds so fancy, although they have nothing to do with the town or the university at that town. It just is a nice sounding, very waspy name. But as far as I can tell, again, foreign governments are constantly inserting themselves into our elections. Look at the influence that AIPAC has, for example, on American elections, on American legislators, certainly. And it's not limited to Israel. I mean, there's countries all over the world who are funneling money directly and indirectly into the American political system. And I think that should stop. But, that's up to Congress.
And what about Guccifer?
Yeah, it turns out Guccifer 2.0, according to the latest reporting, was probably Russian intelligence. There's people who are saying, no, that's not the case, and, who knows. But, still, I'm a fan of transparency. I would like all this stuff to be out. I'd like to know what's going on. I want to know what Mueller is up to, and I'm withholding judgment until he says, here's what happened.
Okay, yeah, me too. Me too. But our solutions are simple, Tom. You got to register as a Democrat. If you're registered independent, please re-register as a Dem.
Yeah, particularly if you live in a state that has closed primaries, so that you can then vote in the Democratic Party's primaries and participate. Jim, well said. Thanks a lot for the call. And, thanks for listening to the show there in Los Angeles. Whew. Anything Goes Friday, John Bolton. Man, I am still shaking my head. I guess I saw it coming. I just didn't believe he would be that crazy. Trump would be that crazy.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archive.
I should have known there's virtually nothing that he won't do. We'll be back. Welcome back. Anita in San Antonio. Hey, Anita, haven't heard from you in a while. How are you?
Hey, hi, Tom. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Assuming you're the Anita who used to call from San Antonio or who has called.
That's right.
Yeah.
The only Anita from San Antonio, I think.
There you go.
Apologies.
So what's up?
Yeah, I don't think that that Trump has weathered this whole Stormy Daniels thing yet. She hasn't even appeared on 60 Minutes.
That's
I guess
true.
if you think it's just, if it's just about the sex, I don't think most people care about that. But I think there's a lot more to it. I don't know if you saw the tweet from her lawyer this morning, where there was a picture of I guess it was a CD or a DVD.
Yeah, a CD in a safe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what that's all about, but it sounds like a warning to me.
For people who don't know what we're talking about, Anita, what the tweet said was words to the effect of, "If a picture is worth 1,000 words, how many words is this worth?" Implying that it's video.
Yeah, there's something going on there. Plus, if she did receive death threats or threats of violence from him or his attorney that he knew about, those are impeachable offenses right there, as far as I'm concerned.
Stormy Daniels was, Karen McDougal seems to be a starry-eyed, wants to marry a billionaire kind of person, and she was in love with Donald. But Stormy Daniels was a porn star. And, seeing that CD this morning, the immediate thought that I had was, I wonder if she got Donald to act in a little tiny porn film with her.
Oh, who knows? I have no idea. But I'll tell you what, it's probably going to be humiliating for him.
Yeah.
And I do think that the Russians do have some video on him. That's their MO. He was at the hotel where they tape everything, they videotape everything, and he's stupid enough not to protect himself. So I wouldn't be surprised, And I guess it really doesn't matter whether it's financial or whether it's, sexual or videotape. If they have something on him, who wants a president that's compromised by Russia?
Yeah. Or anybody else, for that matter. It doesn't seem, while it's conspicuous.
We're not seeing it from anybody else.
Well, no, but my point is his unwillingness to criticize Russia is conspicuous, but I'm also concerned about his unwillingness to criticize Duterte in the Philippines, who's literally murdering his people. His unwillingness to criticize Erdogan in Turkey, who has imprisoned tens of thousands of dissidents. His unwillingness to criticize Orban in Hungary.
Those countries didn't interfere with our elections. And those countries didn't kill, Soviet spies in London or probably our closest allies.
I get it. There's a qualitative difference. But what I'm seeing is Donald Trump. I see. This again is why I'm not certain that he's being blackmailed. I think it's more like, he's real happy with autocrats. He likes strongman leaders, and with emphasis on the word man. And I think that probably and my belief that without Russian money, he is homeless and penniless. I think those are the two principal reasons. Now, it may well be that there's a porn tape on him.
He wouldn't have been elected president. That's what they have on him also. They helped him get elected president.
Yeah. And that is becoming, well, we'll see what the Mueller investigation comes up with, but it certainly is looking that way. Although the Cambridge Analytica thing, or for that matter, James Comey coming out, 10 days before the election and saying, hey, we're reinvestigating Hillary Clinton's emails. I mean, that shaved a whole point off her polls in 24 hours. And in the states where she lost by less than a point.
That's why I don't say she ran a bad campaign.
Yeah, no, she should have been 10 points ahead, Anita. But I'm not criticizing her campaign anymore. We got robbed. We got snookered. Anita, thank you very much for the call. It's great to hear from you. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Anything Goes Friday. Debbie in Warrenton, Virginia. Hey, Debbie, thanks for listening to Sirius XM. What's on your mind?
Hi, I have kind of a crazy idea. Wouldn't it be great if a group of progressive millionaires and billionaires get together and start an online credit union or bank? Excuse me, or bank.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, have a cold.
It's okay. And for what purpose? You mean to compete with the big banks, or
Yes.
to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an idea. I would much rather see states create state banking so that the money, the profits, instead of going to Wall Street, the profits would be funding things like, low-income housing and health care for poor people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see the progressive millionaires and billionaires create a radio or television network, or both. The right wing has had both of them since the 1980s. And they have multiple radio networks, and they've got one major television network. Nothing like that appears on the left. And even MSNBC is owned by Comcast, which is a right-wing company, and started by a right-wing family. And most of the guests you see on MSNBC are hardcore right-wingers. The Bill Kristols of the world, the neoconservatives, and their whole morning lineup is filled with that stuff. So there is no. In the larger world, I mean, you got Free Speech TV, but Free Speech TV isn't on every cable network in the country. I would love to see that. But I get your idea, Debbie, and I think it's a great one. Debbie, you got to move along, but thank you. Roger in Portland. Hey, Roger, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I wanted to ask you something, please, about the Electoral College versus Facebook and social media manipulating the vote. Are we at a time when maybe we should be thinking about making a major push to get rid of the Electoral College?
Yes.
Because, it's always been bad, but now it's like horrendous, it seems.
Well, the last two Republican presidents were elected by the Electoral College. George W. Bush lost the popular vote by 500,000 votes, over 500,000 votes, and Donald Trump lost the popular vote by 3 million votes. So, yeah, we've been screwed.
But I think it's, I don't know how they did it with George Bush. I know that he won because of the EC, but with Trump, it's evident that he won by manipulating the EC. And it seems like whether it was Russia or Trump or whoever it was that did it, it did it.
Yeah.
And if it did it once, it's only going to get worse because everybody now knows how to do it. And it just seems like if that is the case, if I'm not dreaming here, it's really time that we get rid of the EC and just have a popular vote.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there is a movement, I think it's fairvote.org is the website. There is a movement where a number of states have passed legislation, internal legislation, saying that because the states control their electoral votes, that all of their electoral votes will go to whoever wins the national popular vote. And when states representing more than 279, as I recall, electoral votes, sign on to that legislation, and right now it's in the low 200s. When enough states sign on to that legislation, the Electoral College is cooked. It's gone. And the problem right now is just that there's not enough states controlled by Democrats to make that happen.
IC, are the states, once they're in that network, are they in for good, or when the Republicans take the state back over, can they come out of that network?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope it's not the latter, but...
it seems to me like the Republic is cooked if we don't get rid of the EC.
Yeah.
With this new social media manipulation going on.
I agree, Roger. I agree. I got to move along, but thank you for the call. Well said. Amanda in Anza, California. Am I saying that right, Amanda?
Hi, Tom. Let me turn up the speaker real quick. Sorry.
Sure. It's quite all right.
It usually takes so long. I just, the issue with the guy a couple calls back about the gender specificness.
Yeah.
It's just an issue that bugs me, too. I don't understand why people have such a problem with gender neutrality. I think it's basic common courtesy to start a conversation with gender neutrality, because until that person tells you specifically how they identify themselves, you don't know. You're just assuming.
Yeah.
So I kind of think that maybe it seems to be men who are maybe a little insecure with their masculinity, don't like the gender neutral thing as much.
Could
and
be.
Also, it's, I have a person at my work that's gender neutral. Well, actually, when I first met the person, she looked very feminine, even though she had very short hair. And I found out she liked to be addressed as sir. So assuming I would call her a female, or like he was talking about waitress or any of those things, it's not, it's rude.
Yeah.
It's just a common courtesy.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I'm not certain about the motivations of people who want workplace names for people to be gender specific, other than just, hey, it was always that way and I like things the way that they always were. I think that there's a lot of conservatives who just kind of cling to the past,
That's
instinctively.
true. That's true. But I do notice it's much more men that seem to think they want to make jokes about it and things like that. So it's kind of strange. But I live in a very small red part of California up in the mountains, so it's pretty weird anyway. And I was also going to tell him he is nuts if he thinks employers are not going to steal those tips, because if they weren't, they would be paying people a living wage already,
not only that,
and they're already not.
Not only that, they wouldn't be lobbying the Department of Labor for this change in the rules. Amanda, I want to get one more caller in before the end of the show. Thank you for your call.
Bye, Tom. Thanks.
Thank you. Jim in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Hey, Jim, what's up?
Hi, sir. I was calling about the. I wanted to know what your 3 bullet points for the Democrats for this upcoming 2018 election. I wanted to help out our Congress.
Health care for all, raise wages, including the minimum wage. Wow. And everybody should be. Well, I was going to say everybody should pay their fair share of taxes. I have been struggling with this for some time, Jim, exactly what the bumper stickers should be for the Democratic Party, because there's a number of really good issues. I'm also concerned about climate change. It's just that most Americans, there's a virtual embargo on the issue. You watch a European weather forecast and they'll say, because of climate change, we're getting more rain this year, and no Americans are,
Can I quickly rebrand that to environmental infrastructure jobs?
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one.
Could we do it that way?
We should do a brainstorming show on this one of these days, Jim. That's a great suggestion. Jim, thanks for the call, and thanks for watching us on Free Speech TV. Thank you all for being with us this week. I'll be back on Monday. And in the meantime, don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport. It really does require all of us pitching in, participating, figuring out where we can be of the greatest help. So get out there, get active, tag You're It. I'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates. helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242
or visit tomsbeats.com.